What if one of the best things you could do for yourself is help other people? My guest today is Larry Boyd, whose life has taken him from growing up without running water in a tiny Texas town to college football, the oil fields, entrepreneurship, and a whole lot in between. But through all of it, one lesson keeps showing up. See if you can pick it out. Welcome to How to Be a Person, a podcast about life with me, your host, Giuliano Grimaudo.
Larry, thanks so much for having me, man.
It's been a while, man. It's been
really
a while.
has. It really
been a while,
has.
man.
So one thing I wanted to share with you, and I think anyone listening would appreciate it too, is kind of funny, is like what inspired me to start this show was the fact that I was having passengers in my car and I was having great conversations, and I was like, I want other people to hear these conversations.
Got it.
And I normally don't ever do these podcasts in person, but this one is special. I'm doing it in person because I did meet you because you were a passenger.
Yeah, it's been a while. Been a while, man.
Yeah, so it's literally like it's the exact inspiration for this podcast, having a passenger in the car, and you were a passenger in my car, and that's how we connected. So it's very cool.
Yes, sir.
So I'm excited for us to chat. What's cool also is that, you know how like when you got in my car, right? We had never met before, but we had a great conversation. And that's essentially what I tried to recreate with the podcast, is like not to know too much about the person. And what's funny is because, you know, we said, we were trying to make it happen sooner, but it's been so long. I'm like, I don't remember enough about you anyway.
long time, man. It's a long time. So it's gonna be something new.
Yes,
it's something new. A lot has changed.
It's perfect. So I'd love to. So let's just start out with who you are, what you do, and then we'll just kind of explore from there.
Okay. Well, yeah, what I like to do is like the first day when we met.
Yeah.
I like to pretty much start from where I can remember, and then, man, I just work my way from there to present time.
Okay.
So as far back as I can remember is pretty much about 7, 8 years old, growing up in a small town in Texas.
Okay.
To a mom and dad who couldn't read or write. Didn't really know that until, started to get older and started to get in trouble in school.
I see.
So then all of a sudden, my parents had to come to the school, and I would see them talking to the principal, and I'm like, no, something's wrong. They're not communicating with these people, just right. They could always communicate with us. And that's one of the things about growing up in a small town. I grew up in a small town of probably about 200 people or so.
Wow.
So everybody knew everybody.
Yeah, that's very small.
Yeah. So it was nobody really sitting there saying, talking about our parents or doing anything like that. But our parents would always tell us, hey, anybody, they don't know us like that. So don't worry about it. I don't want you guys getting in trouble or anything. So it's 5 brothers. I have 5 brothers. I'm the oldest.
Wow.
And, we have one that's a little older than us. He passed away recently. Okay. And so right now I'm the oldest one, but I'm also the smallest out of all of us.
Smallest.
I'm the smallest.
Damn.
And my mom, she had, it's 5 of us.
Okay.
So she had us, and all that stuff. But we were just those kids, growing up. We're in the community. We didn't get to do a lot of things that everybody else did. I can remember, growing up, a lot of the things we did, we had to just do it amongst ourselves. Our dad was the type of person that he never wanted us really to go out and play with other people in the community or anything, because he's like, you guys are, y'all rough, y'all tough, y'all end up tearing up something. I can't afford to pay for it. So a lot of times we weren't able to go play with, different people, even though the majority of the people in my community, we were all family. Yeah. But at the same time, my dad did not let us go a lot of places. So we would always really just be around the house. Okay. But when you got 5 boys in one place,
yeah, I can imagine.
You get a lot of people that start to come to, because we're a basketball team in ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
To be able to play, so we would get a lot of people that would come over to our home. My mom would always cook for everybody, make sure that everybody had something to eat. And she would always make these biscuits, so everybody would always eat the biscuits. And then we grew everything. Everything that we ate, pretty much we grew.
Really?
We grew it in the garden, man. And I'll get to that a little bit later on as we continue to go. But
sure.
But everything was just, we raised it, we ate it. So from that point, man, it's just that, looking at how we grew up and how things just basically went with us, man, it was kind of sad looking back on it. It was a lot of, even though it was family members and all that stuff, man, people still talked about you, made fun of you. We were the type of kids coming up, man, we wore the same clothes to school every day of the week. So we couldn't really, girlfriends, forget that. Because, after 2 or 3 days of young kids, you start to smell, our clothes. Sure. But we did that because we had no running water. We had no running water in our home, no bathroom in our home. We used a bathroom in an outhouse.
Wow.
Is what we used. We used that all the way up until I was about 15 years old.
Wow.
You know, which is crazy, you know, looking back on it. But where we were lived at, you know, it really wasn't no big deal to, you know, to people.
Yeah.
So we would just always be those kids, man, that were always kind of like the outcasts. But as you will be able to tell as we get closer to the end of the story, you know, that kind of shaped us to who we are, you know, to this day.
Yeah.
So I can remember asking, I would stay at the school, asking the coach, you know, the coach would be like, hey, you going to play football? I'm like, yeah, knowing my dad was going to say no. So I would stay at the school anyway, and I would end up, you know, getting in trouble. You know, when I got home, I would get a whooping. My dad would literally take a belt, he'd whoop you. Yeah. You know, if you didn't listen to anything like that, because that's how he was raised.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was born in 1924. So he was way older than my mom, even when they got married.
Oh, okay.
You know, so we basically was raised the way he was raised.
Yeah.
So you imagine 1924
Yeah.
to, you know, to that time.
Very different, right?
Yes.
Over 100 years ago.
Yes. Very, very different. So what we would do is, man, we would still go to school. We'd always have to eat the free breakfast that they had, the free lunch. That's just, we couldn't afford anything else. Yeah. So as time started to progress, my dad, he ended up passing away. My dad ended up passing away when I was 14. Okay. He passed away, and then when he did, I can remember the coach coming and saying, hey, you know, you're gonna play football. And then I was like, yeah. But man, I had no clue about football. The only thing I knew about football is we would play at home. Okay. And we would play with all the other kids and cousins and stuff in the community. Yeah. And man, I was always, you know, the faster guy, you know, big. And then, you know, when you got brothers like I had, you know, we really didn't have many issues with anybody, because if you got into it with one of us, you was into it with all of us.
We're going to risk that.
No. So, but our mom was very, you know, she did a lot to keep us under control. So we didn't, you know, go out and fight nobody. The only way we was going to do that is if that was the last option for us to be able to do. Yeah. So I remember that summer, you know, like I said, when my dad passed away, I can just remember saying, hey, I'm going to be one of the best football players in the state of Texas. That's all I would think about. Never thought about grades, school, or anything like that. Just didn't do it. Okay. So then I got the opportunity to be able to play, and I realized if you don't pass, you can't play. So I did. I wasn't an outstanding student or anything like that, but I did enough to be able to get the C's to be able to pass my classes and play. Yeah. So I can remember Tony Lowry. He was the head football coach at the time. And we went out, you know, and there was a guy named Steve Stutzman that went to Dangerfield High School in Texas, and he played receiver. And man, this dude had hands so big, man. I mean, you throw the ball to him, he could catch it with one hand, and he would just hold it in his hand and just run. It's
crazy.
But I never saw him play in an actual game in person. What I would do is before I played, man, I would come home. We watch football on TV. We only had like 4 channels. So we watch on Channel 7. They would show the highlights. And I was like, if I ever play football, man, I want to be a tight end. I want to be just like this guy. So, man, we go and we went through practice, you know, off season. Then we got to the point we was ready to play. And I told the coach, I'm a tight end. So we go out and we play 1A football. We only had maybe 17 or 18 people on our team. Okay. But we were all good. We were all good. And I can remember the first play of the game that I ever played in my life. They threw the ball to me, and when they did, I thought I was going to catch it with one hand, you know, because that's what he did. So, man, I go to try to, you know, catch the ball, and when I did, it was a little guy. Boom, hit me in my stomach. I ain't never been hit before like that. Yeah. And when he hit me in my stomach, it knocked all the breath out of me. And I'm sitting there rolling around on the ground. I'm like, oh, no, man, no. What am I going to do? I can't breathe, no nothing. I remember the ref coming over, and he grabbed me in my belt, and he pulled me up. And when he did that, all my breath came back. So they called timeout, you know, and then all of a sudden I went to the sideline, and the coach was like, no, hey, you're going back in there. Go back in there. We're going to run the same play. Ran the same play, and the dude hit me again the same way. Oh, man. Except for this time when he knocked the breath out of me, man, I played it off. You know, I just sit there, went over to the sideline, and I remember Jesse Johnson. He was our basketball coach, but he was also the assistant football coach. He said, Tony, That boy ain't no tight end. That boy's a running back. Put him in the backfield and give him that ball and let him run with it.
Yeah.
Man, back then they would call the numbers, odd and even. And I'm like, man, what is that? 'Cause I had no clue.
Yeah.
And they put a blue wristband on for the even. They put a white wristband on for the odd. So whenever they would call it, the play, I knew my right from my left. So that's how I ended up doing. So the first play, they put me in the running back. They said, we're going to pitch the ball to you. They pitched the ball to me. I went 88 yards for a touchdown.
Wow.
Oh, man, it changed my life.
Yeah, sure.
Even now thinking about it, it's kind of emotional.
Sure.
Because, man, I'm going to tell you, I hate to cry, but just keeping it real, it was very emotional to have people go from not liking you to liking you. So at that point, man, I knew that I had to set an example not only for my brothers, but for other people around me. But man, going from being nothing to being something changed everything. But with that, big head, all that stuff, I thought I had it. I would go and, go to games. Man, I'm rushing, I'm touchdown, scoring on everybody, all that stuff, man. But as time started to go, I started to learn teamwork. I started to learn teamwork and all that. And then once I learned that, hey, man, if you don't have everybody else around you helping you, you're not going to be any good. So that kind of laid the framework for me to, to set a good example, not only for, my brothers, but for everybody else. So just continue to play that game. And, my sophomore year, I didn't really do too much. Then I come back my junior year, and I still had that mentality that I don't need them many people, and, still trying to get rid of that big headedness and all that stuff. But everybody in my community, man, they would always keep you humble and say, hey, Larry, man, I was better than you, and they were, at the time, so I would always be like, hey, I'm still going to be the best. I'm going to be the best. So as it became my junior year, man, I went out, and that year, I believe I rushed for over 2,000 yards. I think I had like 22, 23 touchdowns. And I mean, everybody was coming. And I can remember at our school, because it's so small, because it's a little 1A school, we had 300 students in the entire, that's kindergarten through 12th grade.
Yeah.
And I can remember coming to the school and, because like I said, we rushed to get the free lunch. And I remember coming and man, we was looking in the parking lot, man, and we saw all these cars, like, where these cars at, Suburbans and, these Cadillacs and Cadillac. We're like, where's this at? So, we're rushing to get off the bus and go in and eat breakfast. And all of a sudden the principal at the time, Miss Long, Sharon Long, she said, Larry Boyd, come to my office, but I got in trouble too. So everybody was like, oh, you about to get a whooping, Larry. You gonna get they gonna go and they gonna paddle you, because in Texas at the time, they could spank you. You get up to 3 licks. And I was like, oh man, what did I do? Yeah. So I come walking in, and when I got ready to walk into her office, she said, bitch, go straighten your shirt up. Bitch, go fix your collar on your shirt. And I'm like, looking at her like, what are you talking about? And then she said, it's people in the library that want to talk to you. And I was like, people want to talk to me? So I walk into the library, man, and here's Lovey Smith. Lovey Smith, he was down there visiting with his dad.
Okay.
And man, he come and he's like, hey, here go, let me get on the phone. And he called Larry Marmee, who was the coach at Arizona State at the time. Okay. And the way Lovey Smith, I even came in contact with him is because he's from a small town just like me.
Okay.
So he came to visit his dad. So when he came to visit his dad, who I never met, he had a book on every record I set, every touchdown I made, every game. Wow. And he just said, hey, Lovey, here go, have you heard about this kid? And he tossed that book to him. And man, he said, and he looked in that book, and he was like, this is prior to him coming to the school. Sure. I kind of got thrown off prior to him even coming to the school. So he went just like this. He drove, and my community, like I said, is so small. So he stopped. He stopped in Gilmer, Texas, which is a bigger area. He said, hey, you guys know here go Larry Boyd lives at, or where he's at and all this stuff. He was like, oh yeah, he lives in Bethlehem. And he's like, Bethlehem? And he's like, hey, you gonna go there, you're gonna take I believe 154 You're going to take that and you're going to get to this farm market road, and then you're going to turn on that road, and you're going to make a right at this big old tree. And it's going to be a lot of guys, older men out playing dominoes. He said, just stop and ask them. And he did that, drove there, got there. He said, hey, you guys know where Larry Boyd lives at? And they was like looking, and this how remote it was. Where I lived, it was like, hey, they called my mama, and they said, I think that boy done got in trouble. It's some man with some type of uniform on or something, but all he had was the Sun Devil stuff on. But nobody knew about that.
Yeah.
So he ends up coming, and he knocked on my door. And when he knocked on the door of my home, my youngest brother, who's the biggest of all of us, and he was like, are you Larry? He's like, no, kept on going. But I'm sitting in the living room, I'm hearing this exchange. Then my other brother comes out, he said, are you Larry? He's like, nah, he goes, man, he in the house. He in the house. Ain't even asked, who are you? What you doing here? No, nothing. So then finally I come out, and he was like, you're Larry. I was like, yeah. And he would like to, he looked, and he said, hold on. And that's when they had those block phones.
Oh, okay.
And he got on that phone, and he called. He said, hey, Coach Marmee, he said, get on the plane right now. He go, you got to get to Dallas. He said, I'm about to leave this kid's house right now, and I'm going to come pick you up. So, man, he got there. He went, picked him up, came back. He had this big old cowboy hat on, man. He come walking in the house, and he looked. He said, Larry, we want to offer you a scholarship to Arizona State University.
Wow.
And I was like, a scholarship? Man, I don't know what that is. You know?
So what's that?
What is it? So as I continue to go, yes, they offered me the scholarship. And the only way that I knew anything about any type of college recruiting or anything like that, it was this football movie that it came out.
Okay.
Boys in the Hood. And they was talking about the football. It was a character. It was a guy in there that played running back. I believe it was Morris Chestnut. I don't know who his name was. I don't really remember, but it was a guy. He had played football, and I remember they was doing the recruiting stuff, taking him different places, all this stuff. So everything that went on with me and Lovie Smith, I just mirrored everything that I saw on the movie. That's what I did, and I was like,
yeah.
And I knew I was going to be able to, I would get an opportunity to go somewhere. But I knew this. At the time, I knew you could take 5 visits and all that stuff, man. But, man, I was like, I'm only going to go to college. If I make it, I'm going to go. Probably going to be there six months, and then I'm going to fail out. Because, man, I'm like, and I barely even make it in high school. Sure. How am I going to go to college and do the same thing there? That's going to be really, really hard for me. So, man, everything was just focused on how do I get this scholarship? And I remember telling Lovie Smith, I said, hey, I've never been anywhere out of my hometown really in my entire life.
Okay.
I said, but I do know one thing. You get to go on 5 visits to visit schools. So I was like, man, I'm taking my visits and go and see things that I've never seen before in my life. And then next day, man, I told him though, I said, I'll tell you this much. I said, you were the first person to come to my house. I said, my family is loyal. I said, I'm going to go visit these other schools, but I'm coming to Arizona State. And he was like, Larry, I don't want you to say that. He said, I want you, all I'm asking you is this. When you get ready to do your visits, he said, just come, can you visit us first? But see, he was smart. I'm going to have this kid come visit Arizona State. He ain't never been nowhere. He ain't never been nowhere before in his life. So, man, I'm sitting there, and then next thing you know, this is when we go to the school and the crowd even got bigger. Because everybody at that time, see, they would put your name in, and I believe it was this magazine that they was recruiting you.
I see.
So when they did that, it meant every week I would come to the school. It would be a different coach that I would be talking to.
Interesting.
I had, right now, still at my family home, there's 32 letters. They probably crumbled up and everything, because my brothers, they don't throw nothing away. We don't do that. So it was 32 colleges that recruited me, that wanted me. And at the time there, I think it's like 32 touchdowns. It was an outstanding number. And so all these people will come, but then all of a sudden, the closer it got to making it a reality, then that's when they hit me and said, you got to pass the ACT, SAT. I'm like, what is that? Had no clue.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, what is that? And then at that point, man, that's when I started kind of feeling a little down because I was like, man, if I don't pass this test, man, I'm not going to go nowhere, man. Then everybody's going to look and be like, man, this guy, you know, you was good in high school, man, but you never went anywhere else and did anything. So, man, I would go take that test. I probably took that test more than anybody.
Really?
I would drive. I had no car. We had no car. So the coaches, high school coaches, Coach Johnson, Coach Lowry, what they would do is they would make sure that they got me to the testing center, and then they would even wait till I'm done and all that stuff, man, but I never passed it.
Really?
So never, man, because the stuff on there, imagine a school of only 300 students, man.
Yeah.
Your education is not the same.
Yeah.
So I remember all those schools, never heard from them.
Really? Wow.
Never heard from them no more. Because if you don't pass the test, man, you can't, you can't get into school. So I remember Northeast Louisiana, small school. Okay. They was like, hey, you can still come play for us. You don't have to pass that ACT, SAT, or anything like that. And I was like, man, what am I going to do? And I mean, I tried to study and everything, but I just couldn't pass that test.
Sure.
So then I remember Lovey Smith. He went like this. He said, hey, son, he said, I'm going to talk to the athletic director at Arizona State. And at that time, it was Charles Harris. And Charles Harris, what they did is they petitioned the NCAA. And they was like, hey, there's no way that this kid is going to know how to pass this test. He's not even been exposed like that. So they came up with a deal where they said, hey, look, he can still come, but if he doesn't get at least a 3.0 his first semester, he got to go home because he's not going to make it. He's not going to be able to make it.
If you're enjoying the show and want to support, go to howtobeaperson.co and click support the show. The more support the show gets, the more episodes can be produced.
So then that takes me to, going through the rest of it, and I end up, they said, okay, so I end up signing with Arizona State. Signed with Arizona State, it was a big thing, seeing my mom and my aunt, and all them, in the pictures and stuff, because they ain't never really, seen anything like that.
Sure.
And nobody really saw anything of that magnitude at my school.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of great players that come through Union Hill High School, but I would say I'm up there in the tops. So just to let y'all know. So so I end up getting ready and getting prepared to go to Arizona State. Again, I told you we were poor, didn't have no money, no nothing. So what ended up happening at that time, Target, they had this dog, Spuzz McKenzie.
Okay.
And he had the little dot over his eyes, but those were the clothes that you would wear.
Yeah.
So, man, I went, I got that, and biker tights was just now coming in the flowered shirts. So, man, all I had was one suitcase, and I had just that little bit of clothes in it. And then I end up, I got a ride, to Dallas, get on the plane, and flew to Arizona State. Came out here, and I remember the first day, man, I'm sitting there, I'm looking around, I'm like, man, what is this? It's more people than I've ever seen before in my life in one place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I remember going back to my dorm, and I sit around, man, and I asked people, hey, do you got a quarter? Hey, do you got a quarter? Hey, can I get a quarter from you? So I was able to get enough to call my mom. Okay. And I called my mom and I said, hey, Mom, I'm not going to make it here. Oh, and my mom couldn't read or write or nothing like that, so this emotional part too.
Sure. So
she told me, she said, boy, you going to go and you going to do what you need to do at that school. Yeah. And it's coming from a lady that couldn't read or write, Sure. So I go there, man, and I'm like, man, I got to do well, man. I got to do well here, and all that stuff. So, man, I mean, I would go on campus and I would sit there at the Memorial Union and I would get on top of the little steps and I would just sit there and I would just watch people walk by. I would see people that, ladies that only you could see their eyes, and I'm like, why do they do that? It's never been exposed. Most of the people at Arizona State at the time, if you was an African-American, you was on the sports team. That's the only way you were at that school and all that, right? So I'm sitting there and I couldn't hang out with the football team. I couldn't lift weights with them. I couldn't go over to the press because I was what you call a Proposition 48. Okay. So all you could focus on was school only. Couldn't go over there. So, man, a lot of those people over there, they didn't, I didn't even know those guys because I never hung out with them. Yeah. Whenever I lifted weights, I would lift weights in the memorial. I would lift weights at our recreation center on campus. And when I came there, now I blew my knee out my senior year in high school. So imagine, I didn't even play in no playoff game. I got hurt close to the end of the season, but still Arizona State, they still took me.
Yeah.
But at that time, even going back, I remember sitting and saying, hey, man, I remember the Dallas Cowboys, their orthopedic surgeon, he did my surgery for free.
What?
He did it for free because I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And it was a new surgery. It was called an arthroscopic surgery. So what they did is got these needles and went in and, what he did was he just kind of tightened the ligament just a little bit. But he said, hey, afterwards, he goes, if this don't work, he said, then I'll do it the normal way, which is to cut. So I was like, okay, cool. So he ended up doing the surgery on me and all that stuff. And man, I remember I would dodge Lovie Smith every time he would come and visit. So whenever he would come into town to visit, man, I would be like going down to my girlfriend's house at the time and I never really saw him. And then I remember my godfather, who was out here, he lived here in Mesa, Arizona. And and how I met him is this lady in our neighborhood, I used to mow a yard. And when she read in the paper that I was going to Arizona State, she called her nephew and said, hey, you need to come out here and meet this kid. So he got his whole family, they moved out, came to see me, and he was like, I'm gonna help you. So, we're not really used to people coming in and like stepping in and helping us, genuinely helping us and stuff. But this man opened his home up, his family and everything, to me, I became family with them. So I remember he went to ASU on like a little parent day thing. And he went up there, I was still in Texas. And Lovie Smith was like, hey, here go, boy, we can't wait to get Larry out here. He boy, when we get him going, boy, he gonna be good, And then I say, man, he was like, oh, Larry ain't gonna be able to help y'all this year. He was like, he go, what do you mean? He said, he just had surgery on his knee. And he was like, surgery on his knee? So what they would have did at that time, I could have came to Arizona State earlier and rehabbed my knee, but I didn't want to tell nobody because I thought they was going to take my scholarship away.
Yeah.
So we had no transportation to go and, get rehab or anything like that. So man, when I went to Arizona State, literally my left leg was almost like at a 90-degree angle.
Wow.
I was limping around. I couldn't really walk because the scar tissue had built up in it.
Yeah.
So I remember when I came to Arizona State, part of my thing was I had to go and do rehab. So they had this guy named Bob. And Bob was like, at that time, Arizona State, we shared our athletic facility and everything with all of the athletes at that time. And I remember these volleyball players and basketball players was in there, and he went like this. He was like, hey, Larry, man, that's a pretty lady right there. He goes, look at that pretty volleyball player right there. And I looked over, and he said, boom.
Oh, man.
He pushed my knee down so hard it broke all that scar tissue up.
Ouch.
I screamed and everything. He said, you better not cry. He goes, if you do, they're going to see you. So, from that point, when he did that, I started to get more flexibility in my leg. And I was constantly working out with this guy. And, man, we would go over to the main recreation center for the students on campus because, again, I couldn't really be around the football players. So he ended up, helping me rehab me back and all that stuff, man. And from that point, like I said, I couldn't play my freshman year there at all. I couldn't do nothing. Focus on academics. So I go back, and I remember sitting there, and I was on campus because, again, just to give you a note on how my town was, the only time we saw somebody of a different color or race than us was when we went to school and we saw the insurance man. And when you saw the insurance man and you saw the guy that comes and brings the propane to run our home. But other than that, man, everybody in my community was black.
Okay.
So that was that was different.
Yeah.
So first, I remember sitting there on that stoop, and it was a group of I want to make sure I say it right. It was a group of these white ladies,
okay,
white young girls that was sitting there, and it was a choir that was singing by this chapel that's on campus.
Okay.
So I'm sitting up on the stoop, and all of a sudden they was down there. They said, "Hey, what are they having over there?" And I don't have a clue. I just see these people over there singing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was a guy that was just a regular student there, and he went like this, and he said, "They're having a black nigger sing along," and I went like this. Cause where I'm from, you know,
Yeah.
you don't say that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I look, and you know, and I was country. So I was like, I heard him and I said, hey, I said, what did you say? I said, what did you just say? And at the time, he said, I said, they having a black nigger sing along. And I was like, I thought that's what you said. I turned, and when I turned back around, punched him. You know, when I punched him, knocked him down, you know, all that stuff. And at the time, ASU had these 4 girls, you know, on the track team. And they were all African American. And they said, you better go. You're gonna get arrested. I was like, sitting there, you know, trying to be tough, you know, like, nah.
Yeah.
So man, from that point, what I did is I would go to my dorm, to my classes, back to my dorm. I didn't hang out with nobody because I was like, man, what if I do? You know, get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, I done let everybody down. You know, all this stuff. And I remember sitting there like, no way, man. Hey, so I kept going to class back. After 3 weeks, nothing had happened, right? So I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So man, I go back on campus and it was a guy named B.T. Jones. He was going to the law school. And then there was another guy named Shannon. And Shannon, he, I ain't gonna say his last name, because, but whatever the case is, it was a guy named Shannon. And Shannon was almost like a career criminal.
Okay.
So man, I look up, there's a police officer walking right straight for me. I look to the side, there's another police officer. Look to the other side, I'm like, man. And then everybody around us was like, man, what the heck, why the police coming? Yeah. They walked right straight to me and they was like, hey, I need you to open your book bag. And I was like, open my book bag? But I kind of had a feeling what they was looking for.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, the lawyer guy, he was like, here you go, man, you don't have to open his back. He don't have to open his backpack. You need probable cause. You need this, you need that. And the police officer looked at him and said, hey, do you want to go to jail? He was like, no. He said, well, I advise you better keep on walking. So the guy walked away. Then all of a sudden, Shannon was already gone because he's like, if they ain't coming for me, I'm out of here.
Exactly.
You know, so he was gone.
Yeah.
And then they told me to turn around. And when I turned around, the guy that I had punched 3 weeks ago was at the top of the MU on the 3rd floor, and he was looking down. And they said, hey, is this the guy? And then he said, that's him. And then all of a sudden, man, I was like, man. I said, okay. So they put me in the handcuffs, you know, and then they walked me out to the police car, put me in the police car, took me to the police station. We get over there to the police station, and man, I'm sitting in there, and all I could think about, man, here I am. I'm about to go home, about to get kicked out of school for the dumbest stuff, you know. Why did I do that? You know, I'm all down on myself, you know, and all that stuff. I said, man, it's just going to feed into what everybody was saying, man, yeah, you going, but you're going to end up coming back. You know, you ain't going to finish there. And I'm like, man, I said, you got to be kidding me. Why would I do that? I remember calling my mom, and I told her, I said, Mom, I got in trouble. I said, I'm going to end up, you know, they probably going to kick me out of school. She was like, son, why did you do that? You know, and I had to get off the phone with her because I was like, I just felt bad, man.
Sure.
And then next thing you know, man, as time started to go by, and that's why I realized, man, that football and you're on the team, those people are like family to you. So it was a bunch of guys on the team had found out that this had happened. And when they did, they pretty much made sure that the guy who went and told on me, they said, man, this dude is from a small little country town, man. He ain't just going to come and mess with nobody just to do it. And I mean, this was the white players, the black players, everything.
Yeah.
But they went and they said, hey, look, if anything, if that dude get kicked out of school, you just was going to quit too. He said, because we're going to be on you every single day. So he ended up dropping everything.
Wow.
So when he dropped that, man, it was like a second chance for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, man, I'm gonna learn.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do well at the school, you know, do the best I can. And at the time, I'm a member of a fraternity called Alpha Phi Alpha.
Okay.
I became a member after my freshman year. And it was a little guy named Joseph Crawford. I mean, he was half the size of me. And he walked up to me, he said, are you gonna be another one of them dumb football players to get a full ride scholarship and come and fail out of school? And I was like, I looked at him, man, if you don't get away from me, who are you? You know, you half my size, man, and you coming talking to me like that? And then all of a sudden he was like, yeah, you're gonna be one of those guys, man. He said, here go, but look, if you wanna graduate from this school, he said, then you meet me in the library this afternoon, tonight at 7:07. And I was like, Yeah, man. I'll be there. I'll be there. But really what I wanted him to do was get away from me so I could go back to doing what I was doing, which was looking at the girls, checking the, I've never been around everywhere. Well, everybody where I'm from, we're all pretty much family, you know? And then with no car, no money, you're not going to venture too far off to try to get, a girlfriend or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm sitting there and I'm at my dorm and I'm thinking, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, man, I dodged the bullet, being, getting in trouble and all this stuff. I said, my mama said, do the best you can. And, we're proud of you regardless. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? I'm taking my ass to that library. So, man, I run. If you know anything about ASU campus, the library is underground. So I'm running from my dorm. I'm trying to get over there. And then as I'm running and I go down the stairs, it's 7 o'clock. And this guy, he's walking up. And I'm like, hey, I said, man, you told me, man, to be here at 7:07. He said, you late. I said, it's not 7:07. He said, man, you late. And he kept on going. So from that point, man, what I would do is I would seek that guy out, try to find him. So I end up finding him. And when I found him, he's like, man, if you want to graduate, he go, man, I can help you graduate. I can help you do it. And at the time, I didn't know, but it was a project where you had to find somebody totally opposite of you in that fraternity, totally opposite of you, and you help them. So here's this guy half my size coming up to me, which we totally opposite, totally separate, everything. And he came and he picked me to try to help me.
Interesting.
So, man, I got over there and got with those guys and, eventually became a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And at the time, we had a 100% graduation rate. Wow. So I was like, hey, man, I'm not going to be the one to ruin that.
Yeah.
And I remember Alonzo Jones, he would say, hey, boy, tell the truth. Why you want to be a part of this fraternity, man? And I went like this. I said, I want to be part of the fraternity, man. I said, because he said, stop right there. He said, stop. That ain't why. Tell the truth. He said, Larry, it's because the alphas get all the girls, huh? And I was like, and at the time, football players are the ones, that had a lot of girls, around them. And I just agreed to say, yeah, man, I said, you right. I said, you right, man. That's the reason why. That's the reason. Yeah. So I thought so. So I eventually went through the process, became a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And at that point, man, is when I rededicated everything to, hey, man, I'm going to graduate. I'm not going to be that guy to mess up the graduation rate. Yeah. So, man, from that point, man, hey, I was in class and I was a person sitting up front. I never even really knew what went on behind me because I was always at front. And I can remember walking into my Justice 101 class. Again, I'm going back. So many things happened, but I remember walking in my Justice 101 class. And when I walked in, I looked, there was absolutely no seats available except for one. And it was auditorium type seating, and it was all the way at the bottom.
All the way at the front.
And I looked, man, I was like, man, what am I gonna do, man? And all of a sudden then I said, you know what? My mama told me, you go and you give it your best shot. So from that point, every class I went in, I sit at the front. I never missed a class unless we was leaving out of town to go to a game, but I never missed a class. I was always there. So also during the summer, you could stay at Arizona State as a football player and they have what they call, you could work. They have people where you can go and work for and all that. Yeah. I was like, well, I'm not going to go home, man. I said, if I go home, I'm not going to really have no job. I said, I mess around and get in trouble and all this different type of stuff. So I was like, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to do that. So they also, if you take classes during the summer, then what happens is they, you get cash in lieu of your scholarship. So you would get like a little stipend, to help you through, and all that stuff. I was like, I'm not even going, even if I worked a job back home, I'm not going to make this much money. Yeah. So I sit there and I would go to school in the summer. I would go visit my mom and family for about a week or so, and then I come right back.
Gotcha.
And then I take the classes and all that. But little did I know, I'm going because I'm like, man, I get to find little money and all this stuff. Yeah. But I was knocking out each time. I was knocking these classes out. So before you knew it, 3.5 years, I graduated. Okay. I graduated early before the people that came in with me. Most people, I don't go around like, hey, man, I graduated already, man. Y'all, my fraternity brothers knew I graduated and all this stuff, but everybody else, not really. I remember one of my teammates, Lenny. I remember Lenny was, he needed a few classes just, to graduate. And at the time, I knew if I continued to go to school, I could continue to get some money. So I ended up going to ASU West. I took graduate classes out there at ASU West. You know, a lot of people, they don't know that.
Yeah.
But I did that. And me and Lenny, I would drive him back and forth with me out there so he could get the classes that he needed. So we kind of like teamed up. But I had already graduated and he was getting ready. He was getting himself prepared to graduate. So got through all of that, man. And then it got time for the draft and stuff like that. Now me, I was never no guy like, oh man, I'm gonna get drafted. I'm gonna go to the NFL. I'm gonna be this player. I was just like, hey man, I'm glad I got my degree. I graduated, from Arizona State. I got a degree in criminal justice with an emphasis on child psychology. Is what I got. So I wanted to eventually help kids that was similar to me to be able to go through that process and realize there's something on the other side for them. Yeah. Because Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, it taught me to be able to go out and help people and be a light to other people, and try to help them do, the same thing that you did and beyond that. Yeah. So that stuff, the draft time came around, of course. Man, I'm not looking to be drafted. Sure. I remember we had a guy named Shante Carver who was, who played with us. And Shante Carver was a definite first-round draft choice. The guy was good. He was good. And I remember talking to him 1 minute, and then the next minute we looking on the TV screen. I'm like, man, how did he get to Dallas? They had already had a jet that was sitting there, and they called him and said, hey, Shante, we're planning to take you as our first pick in the draft. Wow. And then next thing you know, I'm seeing him, man, he's on TV, man. Yeah. He's in Dallas. He got his jersey and all this stuff. Wow. I'm like, man. So the draft ended up going, a lot of people disappointed that thought they really was going to go somewhere and all that stuff, and they didn't. I can remember the Jets. The Jets called me up they was like, hey, we want you to come, play with us, but we can't offer you no money. Oh, come on. We can't offer you no money or anything like that, but we'll give you an opportunity to come, if you want. And I was like, well, I said, I don't know. I'm broke. I ain't got no money. And then, a few things went around, and then next day, I get a call from Kansas City. And Kansas City was like, hey, we want to give you an opportunity, to come to camp and, show us what it is that you can do. And I was like, well, hey, you guys gonna give me any money? Can I get any money? And they was like, well, what we can do is we can give you $17,000.
If you're enjoying the show, I think you'll love my book by the same name, How to Be a Person, 100 Gems on Living a Good Life. Available now on Amazon.
I was like, $17,000? Man, shoot. I'm going there. 17,000, man, at one time. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm going there. But realistically, I knew going to Kansas City, they had Neil Smith, Derek Thomas, man, Joe Montana was there at the time, Marcus Allen, all these guys. So, man, I'm like, I ain't going to make this team. So I get out there, and my locker was right next to Marcus Allen's locker. So, man, I was that guy, man. I was a jokester, man. But you're talking at the time, I came in as a running back, but when I finished, I was 315 pounds and played defensive end. Wow. Big guy, was still fast and all that stuff because I was running back originally. Yeah. So, they thought maybe they could try to mold me into something. But, man, the first day of camp, man, no pads. We just had the little shell things on. Wow. And I'm not used to that. I'm like, man, what is this? The pros practice at a fast pace, even without the pads. So a guy's knee hit me in my thigh. And, man, it was a deep, deep bruise, man. I mean, it swole up and everything. I'm like, oh, man, I'm done. But I didn't know football in the depth like everybody else did. And at the time, U of A had a defensive lineman that was really, really good. That's when they had a team. Their defensive team was called the Desert Storm. And he went there, a guy named Rob. He goes there. And Rob, what he did, he was hurt the whole time. So I didn't realize that if I was hurt, all I had to do was tell him, hey, man, I got hurt, I'm hurt. Then they can't cut you. But I didn't know that. I'm thinking, hey, man, I got to work and work through this in order to be able to go, man. If not, they're going to send me home. So end up, getting sent home. I remember being there, but had some good days with all those guys. I remember Derek Thomas, rest his soul. He's not here anymore. But Derek Thomas, I remember him getting all the rookies together. And he said, and it was one guy named Greg Hill from Texas A&M. He was the first round draft choice, so he had money. And I remember Derek Thomas, giving him his gold card and said, hey, man, take all these guys. I want you to take them out. Let them get whatever they want, food, drink. I don't care what it is. Just put it on this card, and I'll take care of it. No big deal. And all of a sudden we asked, hey, man, why you do that? He said, hey, man, because I got a lot of money. I'm not going to get cut. He said, they're not going to send me anywhere. He said, but some of you guys, you're together now, but you might not be together the next week. So he said, I want to at least do something for you guys the same way that it was done for me. Yeah. But I never had to worry about being cut. So we went out that night, man. We hung out as a team, and man, we ate good. We, drink a lot, all that stuff. And then I remember a few days later, I remember coming to practice, and I was there probably about 6 weeks. And I remember coming and looking at my locker, and all it was, man, was a little old bitty sticky note sticking in the back of that locker. And I was like, I was like, what? And it said, go see Carl Peterson, who was the director of player personnel for the Chiefs. And he went just like this. I went up in the elevator at Arrowhead Stadium, and we got up there, man. I was like, man, look at all these phones. And man, we way up here, man. I'm looking down, and all of a sudden, I see the other guys say, hey, man, what we doing here? He was like, man, are you that dumb? And I was like, what are we doing here? Because, man, I've always had success in football. Yeah. Never no bad spots. Yeah. So as I'm sitting there, man, and I remember this one guy that played at Notre Dame, he said, hey, man, they about to send us home. I said, send us home? He said, man, we about to get cut, man. And I remember walking into the office, and I remember Carl Peters, he turned that chair around that he had, and he said, well, Larry, I just want to let you know something, son. He said, this is a game of numbers. And right now, we got more numbers than what we need. He said, but what we're going to do is we're going to keep you here for 3 days. He said, if another team picks you up, we're going to fly you first class to that team. And I was like, I'm looking at him, and in my head, because to me, I'm a good player, I'm a good player. And he goes like this, and I said, hey, I just looked at him and said, nah, hey, don't worry about it. I said, because I'm telling you, if somebody picked me up, I said, if we play against y'all, I said, you're going to remember my name. And he looked, he said, hey, I understand. So, man, I ended up leaving out, stayed there for 3 days. And after 3 days, man, I got on the plane because nobody else picked me up or anything like that. I got on the plane, and I flew right back to Arizona. Yeah. I get back, I'm here for like 3 days. Then I get a call from the Toronto Argonauts. And they was like, hey, we bought your rights. They said, hey, we're going to fly you out. We want you to play for us. So I end up getting on the plane, flew out there, took a red eye, went out there. As soon as I got there, they picked me up. They took me right straight to the practice facility. Wow. And they was like, hey, we need to get going. Wow. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, okay. But the thing is, man, I was 315. That's NFL, our football field type stuff. You get there, 315, man, you're going to pass out because the field is wider, field is longer, the game is faster, and all that stuff. And you got to play so many minutes before you can even get off the field.
I didn't know that.
So I remember going there, never played in a game. I would just go to practice, and we practice. I'd be throwing the linemen around and all that. I remember one guy said, he go, hey, man, cut that shit out. He said, because, man, this ain't that American football, man. He go, we're different here. It's more of a finesse game. And I'm looking at him like, man, shut up, man. Football is football, man. What you mean finesse? But I realized that a lot of those guys, because the linemen, they were a solid part of the team in the Canadian League at the time. You could only go get like a defensive player. You get specialty guys from the States. But everybody, the linemen and stuff, was pretty much from there.
Interesting.
So they knew everybody. So they buddies. So I wasn't buddies with them. So end up stayed there pretty much, the whole year. Never played in the game, like I said. And I can remember we played against, I think it's Calgary. That's the one with Doug Flutie. I remember they came to Toronto and they beat us like 77-0.
Wow.
I mean, they blew us out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, the coach, you ain't go. We get these 77-0, and I can't even get in the game.
I can't even play.
Come on, man, at least let me get in the game or something, man. So that started to make me mad. Like, you got to be kidding me. And then we had a meeting, team meeting the next day, and we had 2 games left in the season. And I can remember sitting in there, and the coach was like, hey, does anybody have anything they want to say or anything like that, right? So all the guys, they started speaking up and saying, they said, hey, coach, I know we lost, but, you know, I started to see us come together, you know, towards the end. And I'm sitting over there like looking like, I'm sorry, coach. I said, man, I got something to say too. He said, you don't have anything to say. You didn't play in the game. And I was like, no. I said,
that's the point.
Yeah, I said, I have something to say.
Yeah.
I said, hey, man, I said, in practice, I said, I beat this guy out every single time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't afraid to sit and tell nobody because, man, I was 315.
Yeah.
Man, I bench press 475. I'm big, man. Ain't nobody just going to come and think they're going to whoop me because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I said you. I said, man, hey, I said you. And then all of a sudden he went like this. He was like, he looked, but he realized, I'm not finna sit under this dude. So I went like that. I said, hey, coach, I said, I done played on a lot of teams, man. I said, but for us, for players to come in and say that we started to come together in the end, I said, coach, we got beat 77-0. I said, nobody came close.
Yeah.
He said, don't worry about it, boy. We don't need to talk about it. Hey, man, I went and I would always eat this Chinese food. Because the other stuff that I saw, man, out there at the time, you know, I didn't have the money to really eat it. I had to eat economically on everything that I did. And I remember saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to call one of these gypsy taxis. And I call one of the gypsy taxis. Those are the ones that, you know, they just rebels. So you offer them amount of money and they'll be like, yes or no.
Sure, yeah.
So the guy, man, I got my stuff, got in that taxi cab, man. He took me to the airport.
Wow.
So he had 2 games left. I knew I wasn't going to get in no games or nothing like that, man. And that's pretty much the first thing that I ever really said, I'm done. I'm not going to keep wasting my time. I got an education. I got a degree. I need to go back and get me a job. Yeah. So I ended up getting on the plane and I flew back to Arizona. I was here in Arizona for about 2 months. I ended up getting, you know, when I came back, I ended up getting married. I got married to a lady. You know, we ended up having a kid together and all that stuff too. So I moved to California. Moved to California, and when I got out there, man, the first job I got, I made $8.88 an hour. $8.88 an hour. Damn. And man, I was married, and like I said, you know, had a kid, and you know, ended up getting a divorce because money, you know, sometimes money rules people.
Yeah. So
money was an issue, and you know, the lifestyles that we wanted to live was different.
Sure.
I'm trying to keep it clean, but you know, our lifestyle was different. So, you know, we end up separating up, end up getting a divorce, and moving on. I went through a lot of tax issues where I had to pay because I made all that money. Imagine, I got $17,000 up front. Yeah. I didn't pay no taxes, no nothing.
Yeah, you're like, you don't know.
Yeah, you know, didn't have a clue. Yeah. So I ended up, you know, having the taxes, you know, and all that stuff. But man, what I would do is I would go to work. I would work from the morning, and any extra shift, I work all the way through the night. But one thing I did, the same way I approached the football, is how I approach work with those kids. And man, I would help those kids every single day because all I saw was a little bit of Larry in each one. And these were kids that didn't have their families. They didn't have anything like that, you know. So we were more or less like their family. So we became like big brothers to them because I wasn't that old, you know. So I ended up coming like big brothers, you know, type thing with them, working with the kids. And the more and more I worked with the kids, I became more and more popular because I would share my story like I'm doing now. Yeah. So I share the story, and then it ended up, man, I started progressing in that job because the same approach that I took for football, I took it for that job. I remember a guy, Dave Kirk, asking me, he said, hey, he goes, Larry, what do you see that could be one of your problems, issues in, you know, working here and working with the kids? I said, the only thing that I can see is this, is people judging me before they know me. I said, because they see a big guy, they're like, this guy don't know nothing. He don't know nothing, you know? So I end up, and I told him, I said, people will hear my voice and see how loud it is, and they'll be like, they don't want to approach me. So what I would do is I would work on lowering my voice, you know, and all that stuff, and I would always be on time because I learned, and this side of the story is going to start to tie everything back in to how I was early on. Never be late. Joseph Crawford, 707. So I would always show up to the job 10 minutes before time. I was always there. But the bosses would see that. And as things started to go, then I remember this guy named Curtis Curry. He comes and he says, Boyd, I want you to work in the crisis department. I say, the crisis department, and you're the center of campus. And all of a sudden, I go there, and I'm like, man, how much more money am I going to get? No, it'll be significant. I was like, whatever it is, I'll take it.
Like, sounds good. Significant.
I'll take it. So then at that point, I became like a head person that worked with the crisis division. I was able to go and hand pick some guys that came on my team, and we created a team just like we would football, the fraternity, family, all of it tied together. So, man, we basically was on that campus. I believe at the time, I think there was like almost 100 and some kids, and then different cottages on this campus. It's called the Sycamore's Boys Home in Altadena, California. And I remember, man, we went for almost a year, no hands on no kids. Kids weren't getting in trouble because we took the athletic stuff and we put that into play with the kids. We would actually play with them, play football. We would take those kids from that group home and we would go play kids in the community at the park. But we would teach them. But all of us was ex-football players. We done went through all this stuff. So people, they didn't really know that them kids had that much backing. But them kids, they listened to us with what it is that we taught. So we would go out in the community and we would blow people out just playing in general at the park.
Yeah.
So as that started to go, man, it progressed further. Then I got to a point where, like I said, I end up saying, man, I don't want to keep being here in California. You know, it's just not good. And so at that point, I started thinking about, hey, man, I gotta get out of there. I gotta go somewhere else where my money will go further. And I remember, in the position that I was in, I remember Curtis said, hey, we got this lady, this young lady's gonna be coming this afternoon. He said, I'm not gonna be able to interview her, but I want you to interview her and let me know if she's a good fit for the job. And that's my wife, so I end up, meeting her, walking around campus, showing her, man, and just, fell in love with her,
Yeah.
And, we've been together ever since. Wow. And we just celebrated our 20, she's gonna be mad at me. I think it's I think it's 22. This is our 22nd wedding anniversary we just had not too long ago.
Yeah.
And me and her, we got together and stuff, and we end up moving in with each other. Eventually we end up, working several jobs together. She's a retired teacher, special ed teacher. So we end up working. And then she was like, if I move to Arizona, she goes, Larry, we got to be married. And I was like, okay. So, man, I remember working the job there at the Sycamores. I remember working at another group home facility. I worked there. And then I helped a buddy of mine out work at a homeless shelter. So I would start out in the morning at like 7 in the morning, and I wouldn't finish until almost 11 something at night. And then I would get right back up and I would do the same routine because I wanted to get out of there. I was determined to leave California, and I wanted to leave with my wife.
Yeah.
So she wasn't moving until we had enough.
Yeah.
So, man, we ended up getting enough, and, we got married, came out here to Arizona. From this point, ended up moving here to Arizona. When we did, we ended up buying our first house out in Santan, which was called Queen Creek at the time, too.
Yeah.
So we moved out there. The first house we got cost us $199,000. I remember going and, because I was always cheap, man. And, I'm frugal, man. I don't like to spend money, 'cause I don't know when the next one is coming. And I remember going out there and over at Red Mountain Freeway, the 202, they had just built that. And it was houses out there. And we went and looked at this house. We stayed in a 1-bedroom apartment for 8 years. And I remember going to this house. This house was only 2 bedrooms. I think it was like, 1,200 square feet. So we went and said, we're going to get that house right there. And it actually cost more than the house that we end up getting.
Okay.
So a buddy of mine at the time, he did real estate. So he's like, hey, Larry, man, why don't y'all ride out here with me, man, to this new area. Man, they said they got these nice houses out there, man. Here you go, man, since you out here, man, let's go check it out, man, just to see it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, man, we'll go. So we go out there, and my wife, she like to look at everything, So we go out there and we pull up, and I mean, man, this house is 3,360 square feet. It's big. Damn. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I didn't even get out the car because I was like, man, we can't afford this house, man. I'm not the guy that look at stuff and I can't afford to get it. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, nah, I'll sit right here in the car. And I remember being in that car for about 10, 15 minutes, and here comes the salesman come walking out. And when he comes walking, he says, hey, you're not going to go inside and take a look? I was like, no. I said, man, we can't afford this house. He was like, I'm pretty sure you can. I was like, no. He was like, you can afford this house. And then he handed me that brochure. When he handed me that, I sit and I look. I said, you telling me that this house right here is 199,000?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah. I was like, nah. He was like, yes, it is. I told my wife, I said, hey, so you could take our name off that other one, and they wanted 210 for that little small house.
Yeah.
But see, the only thing is, we was way out with nothing there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, shoot, that much? I said, yeah, so we'll take it. So we end up buying that house, and we end up buying, the guy was like, here you go, if you really want a deal, then just buy the spec home. He said, I'll sell you the spec home. I don't know what no spec home is, but he explained to it, you can't make any changes to it.
Yeah, it's just like how it comes.
It's how it comes. And I was like, shoot, man, we come from a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, you're like, give it to me.
Hell yeah. I'm like, man, hey, we'll take it. So we end up getting that house, and they, you know, but they built it. It wasn't even built yet, but they end up building it to spec. They did that. And man, we would come out, we check the house out, you know, we'd come out every so often, because we just drive.
Yeah.
We come out, then I could stay with friends and stuff that was out here, didn't have to worry about, you know, spending money like that. So when they got done building that house, I moved in it first. And then my wife, she was still teaching, so she ended up coming, you know, a few months later.
Yeah.
And I can remember being out there, and man, it was so remote, I could put my hand in the front of my face, and I couldn't even see it, because there was no lights, no street lights. There was no nothing out there. It was just nothing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, man, I remember about 3 days passed by, and I look out the window, and it's like cars parked in front of the house. I'm like, but all of them had spray paint on it.
Okay.
And I was like, I look out, I was like, because for me, now, everybody there was white. And I was like, man, what happened, man? I said, man, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Man, what all these people doing in front of my house? And I come out and I was like, hey, I said, what's the problem? I said, why are you guys all in front of my house? And I remember the neighbor that was behind our house, he was like, behind the house, he said, hey, here you go. They didn't spray paint your car? I spray paint my car? I was like, no. He was like, man, they didn't spray paint your garage either? I was like, no. He was like, I'm gonna tell you one thing right now, man. You're my buddy from this point on. I was like, why am I your buddy? He said, man, look at our cars. Kids would come out there and they just sprayed everybody, but they never sprayed mine because I was on the backside. So they never sprayed me. They sprayed them. So as time started to progress, man, I would just watch my house more. Man, I hope nothing happens. But then all of a sudden, man, it got rolling. That house went from 199 to 220. It went from 220 to 250.
Yeah.
250, and it just kept going all the way up. And the highest point I believe it got to was like 425. Yeah. And it got to 425. And I'm like, man, you know, man, we got some equity, you know? I started to learn that and all that stuff, man. And then next thing you know, all the people that I had grown to know, that's when they're doing them loans that was going up and down. So, man, I come out, next thing you know, there's a U-Haul in front of this house. People move. U-Haul in front of the house, people move. I'm like, man, that's, man, everybody losing their houses, you know, all this stuff. It's, man, not good. I was like, man, how are we going to continue to make it? You know, if all these people losing, shoot, man, we got to, how are we going to make it?
If you're a business owner looking to start, grow, or scale, funding might be more accessible than you think. Go to howtobeaperson.co and click business funding to see if you qualify now.
So, you know, I remember telling my wife, I said, I don't care how many jobs I got to work. We're not leaving this. You know, we're going to be here. This is our house.
Yeah.
You know, like that, because it goes back to all the stuff before. How I grew up, how going to school, going through football, ups and downs, all this stuff. How do I continue to go? So my wife, she taught in Gilbert. So she would drive to Gilbert every day to teach. I worked at Apache Junction High School, ran a behavioral program there.
Okay.
So I would go to work there, but man, I just wasn't making any money. And I can remember sitting there saying, I remember coming home one day before my wife got there, and I remember there was a knock at the door. And that knock at the door, because we were struggling. And I remember the knock at the door, the guy, he goes, hey, he says, you need to pay this amount of money. Here you go, in 60 days. If you don't pay this amount of money in 60 days, he said, we're going to come. We're going to drill a hole in your lock, and we're going to lock the house up.
Damn.
And you're not going to be able to have it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I said, all right. And I mean, man, I don't even want to tell my wife, you know, I'm like, sheesh, man. I said, man, we're, and then there was a guy, man, and that's why I believe in helping people. You help people, man, people help you back. People remember when you help them. And it was a guy named Monte. And Monte, he's one of them LA guys, you know, He was all into fashion, you know, he would sell clothes, purses. He's one of them hustler type guys. And I knew him. And he called me up, and I was on my way to Apache Junction High School. And I remember he called me up and he said, "Hey, Boyd." I said, "What's up, Monte? What's going on, man?" He said, "Boyd." He said, "Hey, man." He go, "Man, what you doing right now?" I said, "Man, I'm on my way to work." He was like, "Hey, Boyd, hey, man, I can get you a job, man." I'm like, "Hey, you ain't gonna get me no job, man." I said, "Man, what you talking about, man? I'm on the phone." So, man, I don't have time for you to be playing no games with me, man. So to me, you sell clothes and you hustle, you do this, man, you don't do nothing. He said, "Hey, Boyd, I'm in the oil field." I was like, "In the oil field?" He was like, "Yeah." Now, this is a guy, metrosexual. Okay. You know, his nails, you know, he don't believe in dirty hands and all this stuff. I'm like, boom, I hung that phone up.
Oil field.
You know, like, man, you are not in the oil field. He was like, and all of a sudden he called me back. Hey, man, I put him on Do Not Disturb. Because I was like, I just received this news that I could possibly lose my home.
Yeah.
And this guy calling me, telling me, "Oh, man, I can get you a job, but I've never known you to be that way."
Yeah.
And the reason why he did that is because he had came to the Sycamores and he wanted to try to get a job. And I told him, I said, "Hey, man," I said, "Look," I said, "go get you a job in a group home. Work in a group home, get you a little bit of experience." I said, "When you get there, come back." I said, "I'll hire you." He did it. Came back, I hired him. So then here it is, full circle. Years later, he hits me up. But the time he hit me up is the time I needed it. Because I just got that notice from these people saying this. So, man, it ended up 30 days go by, and I remember sitting there, and he calls me again, but I didn't look at my phone. So when the phone sit there and rung, normally, you know, I look, and it's getting ready to go to the voice. But I said, "Man, good." I just threw it to the side. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he called right back. But I didn't look at the phone. I answered it. And then I had the piece in my ear. And he said, "Boy, man, what's wrong with you, man? I've been trying to get in touch with you, man, trying to get you a job, boy. Man, come on, man, and get you a job." I was like, "Man, if you really work in the oil field, man, send me a copy of your check and let me see if you're telling the truth." He said, okay, hold on. Send me his check, copy his check. I looked, $5,000. He said, "That's just 2 weeks." And I was like, 2 weeks? You got $5,000? I said, "Hey, man, when I got to that job,
I quit."
That's what I did.
Yeah, exactly.
I went in there and I went like this. "Hey, y'all, I got an opportunity to really help my family and, you know, help myself and help my family out. You know, like that." I said, "I got to take it." I said, "But I can't tell y'all what it is." So I said, "Is it okay if I just take a leave of absence?" And I was a good employee. So they was like, "Yeah." They said, "Yeah, Larry, no problem. You can take a leave of absence, you know." So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Took a leave of absence, man. I went back to my frat brothers and I was like, "Hey, man," I said, "Hey, I'm going to take this opportunity out of North Dakota, you know, to go to the oil field." And they was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Man, can y'all do me a favor, man? Can y'all look out for my family while I'm gone?" I said, "Because, man, I might not, you know, I might end up coming back. You know, I don't know what the oil field entails." I said, "But if that guy can go out there and do it, I know I can." So then end up, you know, getting my money together, catching a flight, got out there. When I got there, first thing he did, he came, he picked me up, and then he had to fly into Minot. And where we was at was Williston, which is a 2.5 hour drive. Okay. So he drove out, he picked me up at the airport, and as we riding back, he's like, "I'm telling you, boy, man, you about to make some money, boy. Man, I'm telling you, man, you gonna do this, man, you do that, man. I'm telling you, man, it's money, man. And man, you know more about them tool things than I do, man. You gonna make some money." I'm like, man, this dude is selling me, you know, trying to sell me.
Yeah.
So we get to the place where he was staying, and this other guy, they were staying together. And I remember he said, "Hey, man, let's go to the strip club." And I was like, "Man, you mean to tell me you got me out here? And you talking about going to the strip club?" I left my family and I came out here to go to the strip club. I said, "Man, I know you playing, man." He said, "No, man, that's where the boss is." I said, "The boss?" And he said, "Man, every day, man, they go to the strip club." So, man, we go to the strip club, and I remember getting there, and this dude named Jaime, he goes like this. He looks, he says, he go, "Hey, what's up?" I said, "How you doing?" "So I'm doing all right." He said, "You Monty's friend?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Can you pass a drug test?" I said, "Yeah, I can pass a drug test." He said, "He told me, man, that you know how to cook, too." I said, "Yeah, I know how to cook." "It's all right. meet me at the office tomorrow. He go, you hired. He go, hey, by the way, he said, here, gave me a handful of money. He said, man, give it to the ladies. You know, and I was like, me, broke. I'm like, okay. I took that money, put that money in my pocket. I'm like, I'm not finna just get it to them, man. I don't care what it is they doing. I'm keeping this money. And so we end up going there, and then the next day I end up going over. I took all my tests and did all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, that's when the training started. You know, I don't know nothing about no oil field, no nothing, but I'm a big dude. I can swing the hammer. I can pull the wrench. So that's when everything started, man. What I did is every day, it goes all the way back to everything that I knew. Man, I had no car. Where I stayed at, I literally slept in this room. It was one room. This lady had bought this big old house, and she divided it up into little rental rooms. And these dudes, at the time, if you knew about the time, the Bakken in Williston, the cheapest people were paying $1,500 to stay in somebody's garage. They still had to pay to go take showers in different places. The Walmart, you shopped off of the pallets because the food was leaving so fast, especially the man food, canned goods, bread, meat, all that stuff, because the number of men out there. I remember coming over the hill, and there was about 15 to 20 lights that you would see in this city. So as the years started to progress, this thing blew up. At one point in time, man, we just, National Geographic, they came out and they did a special on it called the Bakken. They came out, they did a special. Man, I seen so much stuff happen to people, you know, out there. Me and Monty, we end up getting into it with each other. And why we got it, because that hustler mentality. You know, we get out there, you know, I'm thankful for him, you know, helping me and giving me that, helping me lead me to that opportunity. So I remember sitting there, and the lady that we stayed with in the home that she had, now I slept on a twin mattress in the little kitchen area, no bigger than this here. Wow. I would just put the mat down, and I would lay and I would go to sleep on that. Then I would get up, and then, man, I would walk to work because I had no ride. I would walk. And you're talking about a mile each day. And they, at the time in North Dakota, Williston, they gave you free coffee and you could get free popcorn. So I would go there and I would get the free coffee every morning and I would get the popcorn. And then I would go. And every day, man, I would just go and I would walk. And I would be there on time. And I remember going through all the training and all that stuff. And again, man, it was hard for me because, man, I don't do this. I work with kids. So we had to learn all these different little knots and stuff like that, you know, running a crane. You had to learn all this stuff. So here come math and here come the school stuff coming back. And I'm like, oh man, I said, man, I gotta do this. So I went back to what it is that I knew. I'm a people person. So I'm talking to people. Everybody's somebody who can help me. How can I get a little bit from you and a little bit, how can I help you back? And I remember this dude, Steve, who was our trainer, he went like this. He said, hey, just stay after class and I'll help you even more. I'll help you. So he would do that. So he'd help me. And I remember one day I sit there and I went through everything. I had passed. Now after that, now you're getting ready to go out into the field. Now you're making $5,000 every 2 weeks just being in the shop. And they pay for your food, your housing, your travel. They pay for all of that stuff. So you didn't have to pay for nothing. And I remember sitting there, man, and I said, man, you know what, man, this dude really helped me out, man. But I would watch him and I knew he drunk Coors Light. So, man, I went and bought him a 30-pack and put it in the back of his truck. He rode around with that 30-pack in the back of his truck for the longest because he didn't even know it was there. And then one day I come and I look and I'm like, damn, man, it's still in there. I went to him, I said, hey, man, come here, man. Go look. He's an older guy. You know, I said, man, come here, man, look at your truck. He said, how the hell did that get there? I said, it's been in the back of your truck for a while, man. I said, I gave it to you for helping me out. He's like, man, you didn't have to do that. I said, no, man, you didn't have to help me. And at the time, there was only 3 blacks that worked for that company. And that was the 2 dudes, the one dude, Monte, and this other dude named Bailey that told me about the job. So, man, every day, those guys would come in and they would sneak out the side door. Because if you wasn't going on no job, then there was no bonuses. So what they would do is if they wasn't going on no job and had no assignment, you're supposed to stay in the shop and work. Them guys wouldn't. They would leave and they would go back. They would sneak out. But I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy named Kevin Savani. I went out with him. He was the guy who was training me out in the field. I go out with him, and man, every day I would look, and I would see this dude write down his bonuses. And at the time, he was a trainer, and he was a level 3 operator. So anything in that we did with our company, which was Oil States Energy Services, he knew it. So he would put it on the middle console, and he would write in his bonuses. And man, every day, man, I'd look over and I'd be like, man, he was writing $300 for every 6 hours. Damn. Plus you getting your salary, you getting all this other money. And I was like, and then my little old money was only $125.
Yeah.
And I'm like, one day I said, hey man, can you please, man, quit writing that by me, man? I said, man, I'm looking over, man, seeing what it is that you making, man, and I'm doing the same thing you're doing.
Yeah.
And he said, here go, let me tell you something. You ass. Because he was straight up with you, you know. He wasn't scared of nobody. He's from California, but he lived in Idaho.
Okay.
And he was like, here go, let me tell you something. He said, if you listen to what I tell you and you do what it is that I do, you'll be writing $300 down on yours. And he said, the thing is, you'll be making $300 before I even made $300. And I was like, okay, man. He said, you just listen to what I tell you. And that's what I did. I listened to what it is, Joseph Crawford in the oil field. So I listened to it. And then as time started to progress, man, I learned everything that dude taught me. How to be safe, how to survive in the snow. How if you, man, see that, that's wheat, Larry. If you ever get out here, you get trapped, here you go. If you got to eat that, you pick it and you eat it. He said, you eat that. Here you go, man, because there's been people that have been out here that thought that they could walk from one point to the next, and when they do, fall in snow. And then they dead. They gone. Because it was, man, cold.
Interesting. The
coldest I ever worked in, man, was -30 below zero. But we had the safety equipment, you know, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm steadily listening to him, all this stuff. And man, I learned what it is, everything that he taught me. So I continued to move up. And I remember one day, man, we got these vials, which would be foreign language to a lot of people if you don't know the oil field. But they got these vials. And they had one, it was a 10,000 pound. It holds 10,000 pounds of pressure underneath the ground.
Wow.
Because we were fracking and doing all that. And we had that too. And there was the guys in the shop, they was working. When I got there that morning, they was trying to get this little cylinder out of it. They couldn't get it out. They heated it up with welded torch, trying to loosen it up and get it out and all that stuff. And I remember saying, hey, man, y'all little dudes will never be able to get that thing, you know, just talking trash. So we go out, we do our shift, we come back. They're still trying to get this because there's a job that needs to be done, and they need that. I was like, to this dude named Carlos, I said, hey, Carlos, hey, man, all I need you to do, man, is just hold this. It's like a little wedge. I said, man, hold the wedge, man. He was like, yo, I don't want to say the bad words, you know, but he was like, you go, F you, mother effer. And I was like, what you talking about? And he's a little dude. And he was like, F you, mother effer. I'm not finna sit there and put my hands on it. I said, man, I promise you, man, I'm not gonna hit you. He was like, I'm gonna tell you right now, mother, if you hit me, I'm telling you, I'm gonna sue this company. I'm suing everybody. So he sit there and he held it. Yeah. Man, I took that sledgehammer and I said, boom. And when I hit it, bling, 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 thing dropped. The boss come out of the top behind me. He come out, he said, he go, what happened? He go, because you hear this noise in the shop. And everybody's sitting there just looking. And all of a sudden, Jaime would like to say, you know what? He said, man, I know we're going to call you from here on out. We're calling you 10K, man. So that's why I got the tattoo.
Oh, that's hilarious.
10K.
Yeah.
But 10K is what they called me because there was a 10K vial, and I knocked that thing out of it.
Yeah.
But realistically, 10K stayed with me because if I didn't make 10,000 every 2 weeks, it wasn't worth me being there. So everything with me, I didn't go drink. I didn't do no drugs. I wasn't hanging out in the streets. I wasn't chasing no women. I wasn't doing none of that.
Yeah.
I would tell people, if it don't have nothing to do with my wife, my kids, and the betterment of my family, don't include me. Because I'm not going to no bars. I'm not doing none of that stuff, man. I'm not going, man, this is easy money, man. All I got to do is get up, and I go. And then once you set our tool up, man, we sit on the job for 2 weeks. All you do, all states, hey, can you come and shut in the valve, please? Then all of a sudden, all these trucks are shut down. And then when they shut down, all we do is go get a signature. go to another signature. Boop. I tell the guy, give him the thumbs up, and he closes the valve.
Yeah.
And then when they close it, then the frac team breaks the pipes apart because each time you got to take them apart. We would sit in the truck. My job was sitting in the truck. Only thing that would make it to where it was hard for us is if something went wrong with our tool.
Oh, okay.
But if I take a tool out, now you're talking about 16,000 pounds of metal. And it's just a tool that we had to lift off the back of this trailer and put it on the well so that the other truck, the fracking trucks, can hook up and pump through our tool. So if something happened, we got paid that much money because if something happened, we wasn't the people that ran away. We had to run to it. So I made sure that I would test my own tool. I made sure I would be the one to rig that thing up.
Yeah.
So I know everything was done right.
Yeah.
So the majority of the time, man, we would just get out, close it in, and then we would go sit back in the truck and just wait. There'd be times if it snowed a lot, man, you wouldn't even get out your truck. You stay on location for days.
Wow.
But every hour, every second you there, it's money. The most I ever made at one time was $11,500 after taxes and everything.
Yeah.
And I can remember my wife saying, I think there's something wrong with the check. Now, I didn't have a clue.
Much money.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue because of the simple fact, man, I never looked at any checks. My checks would just come home.
Interesting.
I would just survive off of what it is that I have. And I developed a saying that said, if it's free, it's me. And everybody, they started to get to a point because football, I took my name and I would cut my name off of my uniform. Because what people would do, they see the big black dude, say, man, you play football? I ain't give a damn about talking about no football. No, I'm done with that, man. So I don't want to get no handouts. I don't want to get none of that. And I remember this guy, he coming up to me, saying, hey, man, why you take the name off of your uniform, man? I said, because I just do. And then this one guy, he said, and he looked, he could kind of see where it was my name kind of. And then the next thing you know, the next day I come back to the job and they was like, hey, man, that dude played football. Man, that dude did this, man, he did that. And I'm like, man, how you know that? He was like, hey, man, phone. I man, I saw you in the phone. Man, why you don't want to tell people you played football, man?
Yeah.
I was like, because I don't. I said, man, I don't want to, I'm not a football player out here, man. So I'm an oil-field worker. So, man, I continued to go, but as I continued to go, man, it became more and more popular because they called me the counselor. Because everybody would come to me with their problems. Hey, Larry, man, hey, 10K, what do you think about this? And I was like, man, I said, I would just say, hey, man, okay, man, I'll meet you later on, man, and then we'll talk about it. But right now, I got to focus on this. Yeah. So I would keep my word. I would go, I would meet with them, and I would talk to them about their problems. So my name ended up being the counselor, 10K the counselor. So I ended up, man, it became more and more popular because we would have people from Texas. We would have people from Pennsylvania because it was, man, that fracking at the time in North Dakota was just off the chain. That's where all the money was.
Yeah.
Dude named Fred Ham, I believe his name was, but he was the owner of Continental Resources. Continental was the biggest oil company out there. And I remember going into this van, this command center one time. And I'm sitting there, I'm getting signatures and all that stuff. And I look over at this guy, he got overalls on, man. He just looked like a plain guy just sitting there. And all of a sudden, I said, what you staring at me for? What you staring at me for? He just looked at me, smiled, that's all. And all of a sudden, one of the guys said, hey, man, do you know who you was just talking to? I said, no. I said, man, that's the damn owner. That's the owner of Continental Resources, man.
Yeah.
All this here is him. He was a self-taught geologist.
Wow.
Where all before, they drill straight down. And they got a little pocket. And then that oil would go in that pocket, and then that grasshopper would just sit and just pump the oil up. But he came up with something, fracking, where they'll go down a mile, and then they'll go 2 miles out.
Okay.
And they would do it like that. So, man, they would literally put, if you were to put that wire line, dynamite here, this house would be gone.
Wow.
And anything in its vicinity.
Yeah.
But they would pump that thing down into the ground, into the pipe. And once they pump it into that pipe and they get to the end, everything goes quiet. There can't be no phones, no nothing. And then all of a sudden they'll get it clear, and then they'll hit a button. You feel the ground shake.
Wow.
Because all this explosion went under and it would pierce a hole about that far in these pipes.
Damn.
And when they did that, they pull out and then they hook the trucks up, and then the trucks will pump against that. I tell people, if you ever was next to a train track, imagine you got 20-some trucks backed up and pumping down a 3-inch pipe.
Yeah, wow.
Every day, something happened, man, you could die.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, guys lost their lives while I was out there,
yeah.
You know, and all that stuff. But
if you've been thinking about getting life insurance but keep putting it off, now's probably a good time to look into it. Go to howtobeaperson.co and click life insurance to get a quote now.
But man, like I said, learning that process, and then I got to know, I was like, man, wait a minute, man. Let me see, man. Let me start talking with these people and interacting with them more and all that stuff. So, man, I got to know him. I got to know the company men. The company men were just the people to tell you, this is what I need you to do. They got paid more than anybody else. And this guy named Kelly Bucksbaum, he lives right underneath Mount Rushmore. That's his property out in that area, right? He's a big-time guy with Continental. And he was like, hey, I'd rather have 10K, a half of 10K, than to have anybody else. Because all the guys that taught me, they was already gone. And he was like, I'd rather have him because, man, the same attitude that I carried with football, life, all that stuff, I did the same thing in the oil field. You wasn't going to catch me slipping or doing anything like that. I was always focused on what it is that I needed to do.
Yeah.
So I became friends with this guy. And I remember one time, man, he was like, hey, he said this as the year started to progress, because we see the same people. He was like, hey, you going to be able to go home this holiday? And I was like, nah. I said, man, it fell on a different day, man. I'm not going to be able to go. He said, hey, man, come on out to my place, man. But he had that place in Mount Rushmore, but he had another place that was in Montana that was closer to North Dakota, because Williston was right on the border of Montana, you know, and all that. So he invited me over to his house. So, man, you know, like I told you, from the small town where I came from.
Yeah.
I remember turning off the road, and, man, I looked, and it's like a tree cave where the trees touched. It was dark, man, riding down this road. It's because it's country.
Yeah.
But it was more or less, man, this is what I like this, man, but still yet, it's unknown. So as I started to come in, and I'm going to tell you something funny, man, I was so cheap. A buddy of mine, he went to the auction, and he bought this Ford F-250. It's red and white with pinstripes, had a dent on it and all that stuff. I drove that thing the whole time I was out there. I ended up buying it. He sold it to me for $500. And, man, it was raggedy.
Yeah.
But I lived only about a mile and a half from where I work. I don't need no vehicle. I'm not trying to drive nobody around or do anything like that. So I had that vehicle, and that's what I drove out. So I drove that out there to him, man, and the next day, you know, I look, and I'm like, man, I'm not going down this road, because all the people that was in the community that would see me, because no black people in this community know nothing. And I said, hey, Kelly, hey, man, I'm not coming down that road, man. He said, come on. He goes, man, half my family already called me and told me that you're in town, because everybody that lived in this town, because that's where he grew up in. And he said, they already know you're coming. I said, how they know it's me? He said, how they know it's you? He said, let's just say there's no more black people out here there. And I was like, oh, I said, okay. Then him and his daughter came down on their four-wheelers, and they came and they escorted me down to their house. And I get there, and the first thing, man, his mom comes out. She hugs me. She says, hey, Larry, how you go? She called me Larry by my real name. She said, hey, Larry, how you doing? She said, I've heard so much about you. He's going, my son, he don't really talk to very many people. He goes, for him to sit and talk to you and all that, he goes, you must be good people. Man, she started feeding me and all this stuff, man, and he grew like this corn that tastes like sugar. We would eat it right straight off the vine, and then he said, hey, Larry, come and look what me and my brother got. Then we go out there and we look, and he had this pit. And in this pit, he had this pig that was probably about 400 pounds, and it was just turning. He said, man, we're going to have a pig roast, man. Everybody in the community's coming.
Damn.
And, man, we end up, man, went through all that, man, cooked that pig. And what they did was his barn was better than his house. Because he said, Larry, I spend more time in my barn. This is a guy that can shoot. You can throw stuff up in the air. He's that quick. He had a shooting range on his property, all this stuff. And, man, we just chilled out there. But, man, when they took that pig out, we took it inside of that barn, set it on this table. We sat on the table, took the wire off of it, and, man, that pig just fell apart. Wow. But what everybody did, they would just come and just grab it and put it on their plates. I was like, I'm looking like, what the hell? I said, man, I'm not finna. He got these people, man. And all of a sudden he was like, hey, man, come on, man. What you doing? Man, so I got mine. And we did that. We did that for like 4 years in a row. I would always go to his spot and all that stuff, man. His dog house for his dog was better than most people's house. Air conditioning, dog could walk in. He had a small little house built, custom built for that dog.
So funny.
And I was like, man, why do you put so much into that dog? He was like, here go Larry, I like to hunt pheasants. Here go that dog. Here go, let me show you what he'll do. He took that dog out and he said, point it. That dog would just run and he'd be looking back, just running.
Wow.
And then if he do his hand like that, the dog goes over. And he's directing that dog to where that pheasant fell.
Yeah.
And he go get him. And he said he'll do it all day long, Larry, till he pass out.
Wow.
He said, but I like hunting those pheasants. So as time started to go, he built a relationship with him. Jaime, my boss, we always stayed close. And then I remember the oil field started going down. When it started going down, my buddy Kevin Cervini, I've never known anybody to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to work less hours because when I go back home, I'm not going to be making as much money as this. He said, and I don't want to go back thinking that's what I'm going to do. So what he did was he reduced all of his spending. He did all that stuff so he can have like a normal life, not chasing that money anymore. So he ended up leaving. So here's my mentor, the guy who taught me all this stuff. He's gone. So I became the guy that would take people out. I became a trainer, all this different type of stuff. I did the same exact thing as he did. But as the oil field started going down, I was like, I said, man, I can't be out here, man, because you got these young dudes coming out here. They don't listen to nothing. I said, man, you could lose your life because somebody don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this ain't good for me.
Yeah. So
I went to the boss and I said, hey, man, I said, I want, can y'all riff me? And that was the word they used, riff. Basically you're volunteering to quit, but they will pay you. They'll give you money to leave.
Oh, okay.
Because there were so many people that they still had employed, but what they would do is you would just go in and they would riff you instead of firing. They would riff. They would give you a little bit of money, and then you would go. And I remember going to them and I said, hey, I can't do it anymore. I said, man, it feels unsafe out here and all that stuff. So they ended up giving me a raise to stay. And I was like, I took the raise. I stayed for probably about a month and a half, and I was like, nah, I said, man, it ain't worth that money. So I ended up, orchestrating my leaving and stuff. So I ended up leaving. Ended up coming back home. When I came back home, we still had a house out there in Santan, which is Santan now. We had that house. And I come back, I said, man, let me get a job, working with kids. So come and man, I didn't get no job working with kids because, man, I saved my money. We saved it. And I remember here, I'm a point, so this here.
Yeah.
I remember because when what we was going to do with that house, we wanted to work with kids. So I said, hey, me and my wife was like, hey, let's turn it into a group home to be able to help kids. So we thought it would be at least a year or so before we even got started. So, man, that's where we lived. And then they came and the state came and they did an inspection on the house and all that stuff. And I remember the lady saying, hey, here she goes. She said, yep, you guys passed the inspection, all that stuff. But there was no contracts available at that time. There was none of that stuff. So we figured we got at least a year. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, lady got down to the end of the corner of the street. She called us and said, hey, here you go. Can you guys open up tomorrow?
What?
And we was like, open up tomorrow? She was like, yeah. Can you guys open up tomorrow? You go, hey, we're going to give you guys an emergency contract.
Wow.
Because the program that we ran was based off of academics and athletics. My wife, teacher, most kids in the system struggle in school. Athletics, like I told you earlier, it's like a family to me.
Yeah.
For them, it's like a family that they can reach to, that as long as you participate on that team and give it your 100%, you're always going to be family and friends with these people because you're building a team.
Yeah.
So we explained that concept. And when we did that, they was like, this is not your regular mom and pops type group home.
Yeah.
So, man, we end up becoming part of the change on how they work with kids in the state of Arizona at that time.
That's awesome.
Because of the programs that we brought forth. Like I said, we continue to do that and we continue to grow each time. And the most kids we could have at one time is 10. So we would keep it low because, man, I wasn't trying to get no money. We had money.
Yeah.
And I remember we end up having to rent a house that's right down here.
Okay.
On the other side of that little riverbed.
Okay.
We rented a home over there. So each time we would drive back and forth. And I can remember the road was closed one day. and I come this way. And when I did, I was like, I told my wife, I said, man, I saw these houses. I said, man, these things are nice. I said, but man, we're not gonna be able to afford that. You know what I'm saying? Like that, we can't do that. And then all of a sudden she was like, where is it at? I said, nah, I'm not even gonna say it, because my wife, she going right straight over there and she taking a look. So she was on her way to work. And when she was on her way to work, because the other street was closed off, she had to come on this.
She had to go past it.
And when I first moved, when we first saw this, they was putting each individual brick in that driveway. And I would see that. And my wife, when she came by, she was like, I'm going over there to check that out when I get off. So, she come over there, and I remember it was a lady down in the little model home that they had.
Yeah.
And that lady, I remember that lady telling my wife, said, hey, I'm telling you, if you guys can get this house. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be good. And hey, and then we got a deal on a house. Only thing is, it's right by the drive. And I was like, I told my wife, if you ever find a house for us, I said, I don't want nobody beside me. I don't want nobody behind me. I don't want nobody in front of me. So I want to be able to live. So, man, if we want to have parties, we can have parties. If whatever it is we want to do, we can do it. We ain't got to worry about disturbing anybody.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to have a dog. I want my dog to bother anybody or do anything like that.
Yeah.
So she hit me up. She said, hey, Larry, I found our house. And I was like, you found our house?
Yep.
She was like, yeah, I found it. He should go, hey, he should go, when you come home, he should go, I'm going to call you and I'm going to tell you where to turn at. I was like, okay. So I'm driving down Ocotillo. And next thing you know, she says, he's going, you're going to turn at this spot. And I was like, baby, you ain't going to believe this. This is the place where I saw and said, hey, we're not going to be able to get that.
Yeah.
But they end up giving us a discount on the house because of where it was located next to the drive.
To the neighborhood.
Yeah, don't nobody want to stay by the drive.
Sure.
So I'm like, man, I go in the office and I remember the lady sitting there said, I already got your social security number. I already got all of that stuff. Here you go, we just need to get you qualified. So man, I'm like, I'm not worried about getting qualified, at all.
Yeah.
So the next thing you know, they went to the thing and I told my wife, I said, you ain't gonna believe this, baby, but I looked at that area and that house, that area, and I said, I didn't think we'd be able to get it, but we did. So we ended up, getting this, and it took them a year and 2 months to build this house, a year and 2 months. So like I said, we stayed over there. So every day I would drive by the house.
Watching the house be built, that's so cool.
Drive by and I would stop, check it out, see the progress that was going on it, take pictures in it, we do all that. And I remember the lady telling, my wife said, hey, I'm gonna tell you right now, here you go, if I was you, I'd put my name on it, because I just bought it myself. She was like, if I was you, I'd put my name on it. And I remember going to her one day, I said, why did you tell my wife to put her name on it? She said, I just in case.
Just look it out.
Yeah. And I was like, I said, you ain't got to worry about it. Me and my wife, we is one.
Yeah.
I said, whatever she wants to be on, she can be on it. I don't have a problem with it. She said, well, okay, good. Then let's move on.
Then let's do it.
Yeah. She was like, let's move on.
Yeah. So,
again, we just went through the process, the house being built, and all this stuff. And I remember, man, when we moved in here, man, we had nothing really, because we didn't really furnish that place that we was in, because, man, we was never really there. We was always kind of gone. So, man, we ended up coming here and, moved in, and everything was going good, met the neighbors. At the time, neighbors and stuff start, coming about. And I can remember, man, sitting there and met this guy, one of my partners, Greg Hunt. He lives just a few houses over. He was like, hey, man, I want you to meet everybody, in the neighborhood, man. Come meet the people in the neighborhood, man. Everybody's nice, man. All that stuff. I was like, everybody in here pretty much owns their own businesses and all that stuff, right? So I was like, okay, man, I'll come, man. So we go down there. We meet everybody, and all that stuff. And so he calls me LB. He said, LB. So we meet everybody, all that stuff, man. And then me and him became, good friends. And then, man, we're not used to this type of environment, because working in the oil field put us in a financial bracket that we never thought we'd ever be in. So now we're hanging out with people who, man, they're already retired, people that are retired and own businesses and all this stuff, Yeah. So we were kind of like the younger people that hung out with them. Yeah. So, man, we would go to each person's house. Man, they would have charcuterie boards. I didn't even know what that was, man. A charcuterie board and, wine and all this stuff, man. We don't do none of that. Yeah. But my wife, she never wanted to go. She wouldn't even go with us. And So after a couple of houses us each week that we would go to different people's house, I said, baby, you got to come with me at least this time. So she was like, okay, you know, I'm going to go. And I ain't going to say the people's names, but hey, I remember going to this was right before COVID.
Okay.
Right before COVID. And we ended up going to these people's house, and we walk in, and everybody would always have these grand settings, man. I mean, these people, they had theirs catered in just for neighbors to come in, you know. And man, it's pizza, it's cheese, it's all wine, it's all this stuff around. And we're sitting in there, man, and we all just, you know, just talking and enjoying each other. And in come walked this cat. And the cat walked in, the cat jumped up on a chair, jumped up on these people's counter. It walked to the charcuterie board, it smelled it. It smelled the cheese. It smelled the pizza. My wife was kicking me up underneath. She kicking me, man. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, she gonna be ready to get out of here, man. Man, what am I gonna do? I said, baby, chill. She was like, get me out of here now. Just get me out of here now. Then all of a sudden, man, we end up, you know, leaving because she wasn't going to eat nothing and she wasn't going to drink nothing.
So funny.
So she ended up leaving, and like I said, we were next to host. So, man, COVID become more rampant at that time when it was our time to host. So, man, we ended up calling it off because, you know, it was like, man, we don't want to take a chance of not only us getting that way, but the kids we work with, the people that we're around and all that stuff, because I didn't want to be, you know, responsible for somebody catching something that could possibly harm them. Yeah. And at the time, the husband, he thought COVID was fake. And he didn't really believe that it was real. And then Mr. Greg, he had a family member that had complications and passed. So he didn't like that, you know, and I didn't blame him. So we end up, basically, we shut that part of it down. And I can remember the guy coming and knocking on my door and say, hey, Larry, man, hey, let's hang out. Man, he beaten with sweat and everything, right? And I'm like, looking, he had COVID.
Oh, man.
The same guy who didn't think it was real, he had COVID. Yeah. And I'm like, why is this guy coming to my house, knocking on my door, knowing that he has COVID, man? I said, I don't get that. You know, so we end up, you know, that kind of separated our hanging out and all that stuff with everybody. So went through that phase, you know, and all that stuff, man. Got past the COVID thing, still friends with those guys and all that stuff, you know, right now. I end up finding out as more and more people started to feel the community. Man, we probably have in here now, we probably have about 15 Sun Devils that went to school when I went there, but I didn't know them then. Yeah. But they end up eventually, because, man, my yard has to be immaculate, my everything. Because where I'm from, man, the country, man, we cut our own yard, trim our own trees, take our own trees. I won't pay nobody else to do that stuff. So, man, I would have people, because I bought this thing that I can mow my yard, but I make it look like a baseball field. So I would put designs in my yard, stripes and all that stuff. And people would come by and they would stop. They was like, man, you out here, man, on this yard. Because I didn't work. You know, I didn't work, man. I would go work in my group home, and then I would come back. So I was always here. Yeah. And people were like, man, how do you have the time to do that? I said, man, I make time for my yard. I said, I don't care what it is, how hot it is. I'll be out there, be 110, I'm mowing my yard. You know, they're like, what are you doing, man? Because Greg will tell you, we laugh about it still to this day. So I'm going to tell you right now, LB, you ain't going to never see Greg Hunt out there in that yard. And I was like, you ain't going to never mow it. He said, nope, sure not going to do it. But hey, man, I'll look at your yard, though, when I ride by, you know, and all that stuff, you know. So kids would stop. You know, I knew everybody. I waved at everybody, you know. Didn't know nobody's names, but I would wave. Because, man, for me to be at this position now in my life is unbelievable. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to tell nobody. And I'm going to throw this in so we can all laugh. That's when I met you. I remember having that conversation. It was right about that time. I remember having that conversation, and I tell people that on how me and you, we was rolling. I said, man, at first, man, I wasn't saying nothing. Then he just started asking me questions, and we get to talking, and next day, you know, he said, hey, man, I do this show, man. I want you to be in this show. And I said, man, hey, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. It's years, you know, I don't know, I think about a couple of years, man, that went by, and I would still tell people that story on how me and you talked, you know, and all that stuff. And they, man, yeah, man, we supposed to be getting together and we doing this, going to do this podcast.
Yeah.
And then, man, we going to talk about it, all this. And then, like I said, I keep telling people, hey, man, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I told everybody, hey, man, me and that guy, we hook it up and we going to do this thing, man. It's been a while, like that. So.
If you've ever thought about writing a book, Peaceful Profits can help you go from idea to published author and even position your book to become a bestseller. Go to howtobeaperson.co and click Peaceful Profits Author Resource to get more information now.
Man, it's just that I'm just happy to be where I'm at right now. I have 3 daughters. My daughters, man, my oldest one lives in Dallas. She used to work for the Dallas Stars. Right now, she works for an AI company. She does really, 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 really well. Then I got my middle daughter, Kylie. Well, the older one is Riley. Then I got Kylie. Kylie, she works for Southwest Airlines now. But Kylie's the one who kind of orchestrated our food business that we have. It's called Cravens. It's our barbecue soul food truck that we have. We started out, man, just going to a friend of mine's out in Phoenix at a barbershop. And, man, we had one little grill, and we would cook the food, and all that stuff. We had hot plates here, and, that's just how we did it. But, man, people would buy the food. And then as that continued to grow, we didn't need to take no money from it. We just put the money up. We just put it up.
Yeah.
So we just kept doing it. Then next thing you know, we catering little jobs here, and everything started to go. And then in 2022 is when my daughter, she came and she said, Dad, she go, why don't we start a food truck?
Yeah.
And she graduated from Arizona State with a business degree. My older daughter went to LSU.
Oh, okay.
And so she graduated with a business degree. So me and my wife sitting there, and we told her, said, hey, look, come up with a business plan. You're going to present that business plan to us. And then, hey, if it works, then, hey, we'll start it up.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was she came here and showed us a video about a guy that was in the military, and he was in Florida. And he's from California, though. And the one thing he missed was a California burrito. And nobody made the California burrito out there.
Okay, I've said that because I lived in California. I love California burritos. And when I came out here, no one was making them. Yeah, totally.
Hey, so he was like, hey, he said, man, he said, so what he did, he said, when I retire from the military, he said, I'm going to bring the California burrito to Florida to everybody.
Yeah.
So when he retired, he took some of his money and he went and bought a food truck.
Yeah.
And when he bought that food truck, man, he started going out with the California burrito. He said, when he started out, he said it was just him. And then he said what he did was he went to family and friends and said, hey, I can't pay you any money. He said, but I can pay you in food.
I can pay you in burritos.
That's right. And he says, as I continue to grow, then I will remember that you helped me, and I will make sure that you get, you will get compensated for it.
Yeah.
And he said a lot of them was like, don't worry about it, no nothing. So then he started telling you the ins and outs. He said, you don't want to get a food truck, get a trailer. And he talked about how the food truck broke down. And he said, I couldn't make no money. Everything was stuck in, and all of my stuff was ruined because I couldn't keep it cold. I couldn't keep it anything. He said, so I had to move away from that.
Yeah.
That's when I got a trailer. Here you go. If I got a trailer, if something happens, all I got to do is sit and go get another truck, hook the truck up, pull the trailer.
Yeah.
So that's where we got the concept of getting the trailer.
Yeah.
And then he said, you got to have a product. You got to have a way to get the product out. And you got to have a way to continue to evolve that product. Because if you don't, somebody else is going to come in and they're going to do the same thing. They're going to step up and do a little bit more than you. And then they start to cut in on your business. So what he ended up doing was when he made that California burrito, he made it big. So he would have all these people. They would just come. So, man, we developed that philosophy that he had. Hey, we got a product, which is our barbecue and soul food. We got to be able to get it out. We went and bought a food truck, a food trailer. We went and bought that. And then we got to have a way to continue to evolve. So, man, we got so many things on our menu that we can do variations from.
Yeah.
So we end up doing that. And man, it grew. It just kept growing. Then we would get to a certain amount of money. Then we got it wrapped. Then it gets a certain amount of money. Then we took that. And then we would go out and then we would come up with other things, that we were going to cook and do.
Yeah.
Concept-wise, all that. And I remember, because even with the logo that I got on my shirt here, what happened was it's a guy, a friend of mine named Dale Frazier. He knew one of his fraternity brothers in California. And his fraternity brother said, hey, just send me a picture of you guys, and I'll design a logo for you and send it to you.
Nice.
And he did.
Nice.
So I've never met him, even to this day. He drew all of us from just a picture.
Yeah.
And I mean, when people come, I can't go nowhere really in Queen Creek, and people don't know who I am. Hey, that's the Cravens guy. They think my last name is Cravens.
Yeah.
Mr. Cravens, Mr. Cravens. But we would go to the Queen Creek Festival, and we would go there, man, and we make maybe, $200-$300, and as time started to go and people started tasting our food, then we started to get bigger and bigger. Right now, I believe we have about 4,600 people that follow us. It could probably go bigger than that, but we don't really advertise like we do because we have the group home that we own, and then we have the food business.
Yeah.
And then with my daughter, right when we got to going, I mean, some of our clients, I don't know if I can say it, but some of our clients, like one of our clients is Paradise Valley Country Club.
Oh, okay.
We do their staff. The connection there is Ryan Gazzetto. He's the guy that manages, their facilities over there, but his dad was my coach at Arizona State. So we got them. We got Lucid Motors is one of our clients that we do. We do
over in Tempe?
No, Lucid Motors, the factory.
Oh, the factory. Because I was going to say, I know they have a store.
We got the factory.
Damn.
We would do the factory. So we go out there, man. We started out, once people started to taste the food, then we would go out there and we would sell out every single time.
That's awesome.
It's a huge facility,
That's amazing.
So we started doing them. We do ASU football camp. We did them a couple of times. We do ASU girls basketball. We do them. Hines Ward, you know him?
No.
Hines Ward, probably one of the best receivers that Pittsburgh Steelers has ever had. He was on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, okay.
All of that stuff. He tried our food. And, man, we do catering stuff for him. Him and his family, for different events, Christmas, Thanksgiving. Yeah. We do that stuff for him. It's another guy that lives in here that's really, really helps us out a lot. He imports meats. So we do his company every year. Next month, we'll be doing his company. And we've been doing them now. I believe it's going on 5. This will be our 5th year doing them. So we do Cardinals players coming out stuff, basketball players. They come to us. And, man, people drive from all over just to come and try our food. Yeah. Our specialty, which we all kind of disagree on what the real thing is, but for me, it's the brisket. Okay. It's the brisket. It sells out every time. My daughter, for her, she likes she fries that catfish. We do fresh catfish and all that stuff. My wife, she makes this macaroni and cheese and this peach cobbler, man, that it's
Dude, I'm starving right now.
Hey.
You're killing me.
Yeah, it was pretty good, and like I said, we got into that, and man, we just kept growing, and we're at the point now, we've talked to Queen Creek City Council people, we've had people come up to us and say, hey, won't you guys open up in Queen Creek?
Yeah.
But see, man, I don't want to partner with nobody. My partners is my family. Yeah. So what we want to do is take the money that we have and eventually work it up enough so we can go in and we can get our own place, so we control what it is that we do. Yeah. We know our food is good. People constantly, we turn down jobs. We're going to be going on vacation tomorrow. Actually.
Oh, nice.
We're going to be going to Mexico.
Right time.
Yeah, we're going to Mexico tomorrow. Yeah. For a week. So the thing is, man, is that this week probably alone, we probably turned away probably cost $10,000. Wow. We make a lot. Yeah. When it comes to the food.
Do you guys have a location where you consistently set up at with the trailer, or are you just all over the place?
We're all over the place.
Okay.
And that's the best, because what it does, it creates that. Hey man, where are they going to be at this time? I got to get there first. I got to get there first type thing.
I'm going to be on top of it because I got to try this food.
I'm telling you, your meal is free. Woo! Hey. But yeah, man. But people, they started to, it started to pick up, progress wise and all that stuff. And then, like I said, the more and more social media we do, the more and more people start to come. Yeah. So my daughter kind of relaxed on our social media, because now she works for Southwest Airlines too. Yep. So me and the mom, we're the ones that's constantly doing it. And we have a few people that'll come in, they help us and all that stuff. But we're not able to really take all of the jobs that come our way, especially when it's hot like it is now. Yep. Oh, man, it's brutal. Yep. It's brutal. But we made sure that we put that's one thing we learned too. If you're going to be successful and you're going to make money in the food game, your trailer got to be cool. Yep. Yep. So, man, what we did, we put the biggest air conditioning on the front of it. Nice. And then I got a swamp cooler that goes in the back. So they stay comfortable somewhat in the truck. So even in the heat, man, we can still go out and function. The only person that suffers is me. Because I'm the guy that's out front.
And taking the orders.
I'm taking the orders. I'm taking the payments. I'm talking to people and all that stuff. And man, I credit all the stuff that we talked about up until now on the success to our business. Because man, anybody walks up to me, hey man, I don't care what subject they bring up. I done been around it. I done experienced. Football put me in a position, the oil field put me in a position to meet people that I would never ever meet. I don't know nothing about no hunting. Even though I lived in Texas and grew up there, we didn't hunt nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so I learned all of that stuff when I was out there in North Dakota. So it's a winery called Windmill Winery that's located out in Florence. And I remember a lady came to us and she ate our food. And when she ate our food, she come back to us, she said, hey, I'm telling you guys will make a killing at the winery where I work at.
Yeah.
And I was like, a winery? She was like, yeah, you guys will make a killing. So we was like, well, hey, give them my information, all that stuff. And I say, hey, man, if they get us on there, I said, you bring your family. I said, your first meal is free on us. Next thing you know, man, like 8 months go by, nothing.
Yeah.
Because they had already booked out for that year.
Oh, okay.
As soon as that new year came up, they went like this. They called us right away and said, hey, you know, we heard about you guys' food. They said, hey, are you guys willing to, you know, to come out here and, you know, provide food for our basically snowbirds that come into town?
Yep.
And we was like, yeah, you know, we'll do it. And they was like, okay, hey, you guys pick the days that you want to come. We was like, we get to pick the days too? It was like, pick the days that you want to come. Man, we had no clue, man. We don't go to no winery.
Yeah, right.
I don't know Florence. The only thing I know about Florence is prisons out there.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And all that stuff. You know, I'm like,
so funny.
I don't know about that, man. So the only way we was able to pick which day we was going to go, they had a live band that plays each time. Every time they have a function. So we went on social media, we looked at the band that had the most following, and those are the days that we picked.
That's smart.
That's what we picked. So, man, we got out there, man, and the band that day, the first time we was out there, man, people, they was like, man, you got collard greens? You got ribs and yams and cornbread? It was like, yeah. Man, and from that point, every time we went, man, it was a sellout. Wow. Every time. Wow. The owners out there, man, they loved us. But I share all the ups and downs with everybody.
Yeah.
This past year that we did it over there, they had a Good Friday. Now, I'm going to tell you, man, I know what Good Friday is, but as far as like fish and all that stuff, people eating fish, man, I never really associated Good Friday. Because, man, I can walk in the back of my house in Texas, throw a pole in the water, catch catfish, and eat them right there if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So fish wasn't good. Fish wasn't no big deal. And then all of a sudden, man, we get out there, man, and we had a crew. We thought, the city of Florence, man, whooped our asses, man.
Oh, my gosh.
And I mean, man, because they advertised to the whole town.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the town. It was the town's people's friends, their family, all of the snowbirds, everybody. That day at that winery, it was so packed. Man, I was like, oh, my good. But we could not keep up.
Yeah.
I mean, man, people coming up and going like, hey, we've been waiting now for about 30 minutes for our food, you know, and, you know, what's going on? You know, and I was like, sir, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I'm trying to talk and trying to help them and trying to be out front. It just threw our whole little pattern off on how we normally go about doing things.
Yeah.
And, man, when we was finally done, man, that was probably had to be at least about 20 people that was pissed off and mad at us because they didn't get to eat the fish.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went like this, man. I remember going to the boss, the owners of the winery, and I said, hey, man, I'm sorry, man. I said, he just looked at me and said, hey, Larry, don't worry about it, man. He said, man, we're Team Cravens here.
We're Team Cravens.
He said, we're Team Cravens. He said, but I just want to let you know for next year, Larry, everybody eats fish on Good Friday. Here you go, especially white people. And I was like, okay, man. I said, I got you, man. I got you. So you know, we're gonna be doing them again and all that stuff. Except for this time, man, we're more experienced and we'll be ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, and all that stuff. So it kind of brings us to present time right now.
Yeah.
Right now, man, we just in the downswing of things because it's hot. we want to be able to go on a vacation.
Oh, that's just how it is in the summer here.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize it. Like, our summer here is like winter everywhere else, where everything slows down and people aren't doing stuff. Like, people watching this right now, it looks like beautiful and perfect. But like, we're in the shade, because if you step in the sun, we're gonna be like burning.
You're gonna be burning up.
And so that's just like normal how it is. So one thing I wanted to point out was that I really appreciate your story, because my dad was born in Sicily.
Okay.
And he grew up, he said that, their house had dirt floors. They didn't have running water.
Wow.
They, same thing, had to, do the bathroom in an outhouse and all that stuff. And now, and you know this because you were in my car, I drive a Tesla. And, it can drive itself. And I'm like, I'm just sitting here like, my dad grew up with dirt floors, no running water, and here I am. This car, it's my car, and it's just like driving itself. We're sitting here. You know what I mean? It's just like it's kind of crazy, like the story arc that someone can have, and so I really appreciate you sharing that.
Because our past, man, dictates our future, man. And if you've dealt with some stuff, which most people have, especially when you get to be my age, then you know what kind of to watch out for and what to do. My thing is, man, is always be helpful to people, because people are going to help you back. And if they don't, somebody else will. And it just continues to progress that way. And that's the same thing that we teach our kids, even at the group home, and my kids personally. We teach them that, each day on what they need to do as far as everybody's important. Nobody's not important. One of the guys I talk to daily is a guy named Mike Norwood. And we always say everybody's important, no matter who you run into. And hey, I don't want to finish this thing, man, without mentioning my youngest daughter. My youngest one, London, she's our little rebel that we have. She'll be 21 on October 15th. Again, I told you that my daughter, the middle one, she works at Southwest Airlines. So what she did is she told her, you need to go get a job at Southwest too. And my daughter, the youngest one, again, she was like, what? So my daughter went and helped her fill out the paperwork. So she made it through the first process. She made it through the second one. She went to Dallas and did an interview in person. She got past that. So here in about 2 weeks, she's going to be going and got a 6-week training. If she makes it through that, which she will, she's a tough rebel, she makes it through that, then she'll be working for Southwest Airlines too. Because with us, we're able to fly for free now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hey,
I didn't think about that. That's true.
Fly for free, we bought us a nice car. Man, I'm like, we don't even need a car, but we don't drive nowhere no more. We just fly. A Mexico trip is pretty much free. I bought a timeshare when I was in the oil field. So we have that, so I paid a lot of money for it, so we don't pay nothing. Pay the fees and all that, the maintenance fees, which will kill you too, but we do that. We got that. And like I said, my brothers and all that stuff, man, we just all still communicate with each other. And man, we get along good. I got a brother that he was in the Navy. He was in the Navy, retired from there. Bobby does really, really well. He's the financial guru of the family. He is. So, and then I got brother Robert, hard worker, truck driver guy. Then I got my brother, the youngest with Leon. And when I tell you, Leon is like, I think he's 6'8". He's 6'8".
Damn.
He weighs like 4. He probably get mad at me, but I think like 425 or something like that. But man, all of us pretty much went from what I told you earlier to people that are successful. Successful to where we're at. Whereas our kids do very well as well, because we all wanted them to do better than us. So did well there. And then my youngest brother, he's on his way now to UT, Texas in order to his daughter. She got a full ride academic scholarship to go to University of Texas.
Wow.
She don't pay a dime. And then his daughter up underneath that, she's going to get a full ride scholarship too, because she's just as smart. But he's the one that really was able to encompass everything I did, my brother underneath, our mom, our dad, the community. So he took all of that. He's the guy that really put it all into play for everybody else. And he continues to do that to this day. But man, right now we communicate with each other, daily, making sure, we stick together and all that stuff. And anytime we can go out and help people, we do. So at this point, man, that's where we're at in present day. This one story I want to laugh at too. And like I told you, and I'll leave it alone, man. But good. I just think a a lot of those guys, when I was in the oil field, they saw how I was there. Cause man, I wouldn't go to McDonald's and pay no money.
Okay.
I'd go to the grocery store, I'd buy groceries, and I would cook. I would eat canned goods, because one of the things I said, I never want to get comfortable living out here or being out here. I want to be uncomfortable. So when it's time for me to leave, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm leaving out of here. And I can remember one of the guys, he said, hey, I'm going to tell you now, Larry, he 10K. He said, I'm going to tell you 10K. He go, man, I'm going to come visit you, man. And I was like, man, you going to come visit me? He lived in Denver. He said, man, I'm going to come visit you. I said, man, you welcome anytime you want to, man. Come on out. And the funny story is, man, when he drove out, he called me and he said, hey, he said, Larry, I'm here. I said, you here? I said, man, well, come on in. He was like, which door do I go through? I said, which door? He was like, man, what side of the duplex is yours? And I was like, a duplex? Because, man, when he met my wife, when he walked through the front door of this house, he said, he just looked around, he started crying. He was like, my wife looking at him like, what's wrong with him? And he said, ma'am, here you go, do you realize your husband, he lived like he didn't have a dime. And for me to come here and see him living in this house, here you go, are you serious?
Yeah.
I said, hey, man, it is what it is, man. So I told you, man, if it don't have nothing to do with my wife, my kids, or the betterment of my family, so leave me out of it.
Yeah.
And that dude, man, he was the one who came. And that was funny when he said, what part of the duplex, do you live in, man? Because I never would take extra clothes to North Dakota. Whatever I wore from here, because we were 21 days working. You worked 21 days straight, no days off. And then you had 7 days off, which was only 5 days, because half of your day is traveling to come back here on the plane. So my kids went from crying when I would leave, happy when I came back, to not even going to the airport, man. And when I left, they didn't even give a damn.
So funny.
But right now, man, we doing pretty good, man, and everything's going good. And like I always tell my frat brother Mike, we're doing good right now. Because anything can change at any given moment. But one thing I know I can always rely on is, man, I work hard. And the people around me that I know, they do the same thing. And I've gotten myself in a group where people, they are all about helping other people. And that's my story, man, on what I want to do. So.
No, I love that, man. I think we live in a time where I feel like a lot of people feel like there's a lot of risk. And so because of that, they tend to focus a lot on themselves because they're trying to de-risk, right? They're like, oh, I don't want it. I need to take care of myself. But I think a lot of people don't realize what you shared, which is that actually the riskiest thing is to only care about yourself. Because when you care about other people, it's like, even selfishly, it's like when you take care of other people, you get taken care of.
Right.
So I love it, man. I love it, man.
True story, brother.
Larry, it's a great story.
I'm glad we got it. Glad we got it, man. That's
Thank you so much.
It's been a minute.
For anybody that is watching or listening that wants to connect with you or find out about your food truck or anything like that, how can they do it?
You just go to Instagram. On Instagram, you put Cravens. It's Cravens with a K. Kravins.
Awesome. And of course, I'll link to it as well. Just to make sure.
And if they mention you, then I'll hook them up.
Oh!
They mention you, I'll hook them up.
All right, man.
Wherever we at, man.
Cool.
So,
well, Larry, like I said, I really appreciate you sharing your story, man. I'm glad we had a chance to talk, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Man, you too, brother.
Thank you.
Good looking.
Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate it. For everything I have to offer, visit howtobeaperson.co.